Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, December 23rd, 8:47 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are here once again on another market open. Monday, folks, we've got a couple of days left of the year, about 4 trading days left of 2024, and then we're done. And then we are officially done, and we are walking ourselves in to 2025. This weekend has had a lot of stuff happen. I didn't think this much stuff would happen this weekend. I thought this weekend would be a relatively chill weekend. That was not the case. We have a lot of news to discuss. We're going to be starting off with Palantir in a bit. A lot of stuff on Palantir, like an absolutely wild Sunday. It's a type of Sunday I've never experienced in the world of Palantir, but it happened yesterday. So we'll be recapping what's happening with Palantir. We are holding $80 in the pre-markets. I really think there's a shot we can hold 80 throughout the day. We're going to see because, last time we were at 80 in the pre-markets, we got dumped and we went to like 77 that same day. So let's see what happens at 9:30, but I do think there's a shot we hold 80. So we'll talk more about that. We did hit 83 last night on Robinhood's overnight markets. On top of that, you got Bitcoin. Michael Saylor is buying some more Bitcoin. Actually, he already bought some Bitcoin. Kind of bought the top that he bought 5,000 Bitcoin at $106,000. So we'll talk about that. And we'll go through a little bit more deeper analysis on the volume traded on the crypto markets and what it's looking like in the context of December compared to November and October. And then on top of that, late last night, we actually got a ton of news around Donald Trump's cabinet positions in regards to AI and crypto. And we're going to go through it, but there are more than just the David Saxes of the world who are now going to be influencing AI policy. There's actually a lot of people that have come from technology and entrepreneurship backgrounds, and Trump's basically stacking up his cabinet with these people. So we're going to talk about that, implications of that, what that means for the broader markets, what that means for AI companies, crypto companies in particular, and ultimately how that's going to affect equities going forward, given some of these people are very influential, and these people actually care about tech and finance and stuff like that. So we got a lot to talk about. Yes, the turtleneck is back, folks. It is cold in New Jersey. It is cold in New York. I was in New York over the weekend. It was freezing cold. The different type of cold in the northeast part of the world now. So New Jersey, New York, all of that is cold. But we're here. And we are back. We'll also talk about Honey and PayPal. Look, I don't think this is that big of a deal for PayPal. I read a little bit about it this morning. I think people are freaking out a little bit. I don't know if PayPal goes down 5% today. It's a bad thing. It's not good. I just don't know if PayPal is going to get affected that badly by it. I think it's more headlines than anything. But we'll talk about that, and we'll get into that as well. Before we get started, folks, I have a new announcement to make. I've officially started a new drink. As you can see right here on my mug, it says Rise and Shine. The new drink is vodka and orange juice, and I think that is... No, I'm just kidding. The new drink... Dude, I don't even think I could drink that, bro. I'd be throwing up. I can't handle vodka, but I'm a lightweight for those that don't know. I've started drinking black coffee. Okay, you guys can't see it, but it's black coffee. And from a guy who usually does caramel lattes and sugary drinks, yes, Sanjay is right there. The OGs know since 2022, it's been a caramel latte. And, that's what woke me up in the morning. I don't know what it is in life. Maybe I'm just too spontaneous, but Friday night, I had a birthday dinner for my mom. And at the end of dinner with desserts, they gave us some black coffee. And I was just like, you know what? Let me just drink some black coffee. And I liked it. I really liked it. I enjoyed it. And my sister was like, you've never drank black coffee. My sister was like, you're just showing off for the people at the table. You're just trying to be funny. I'm like, no, I really like it. And then we went to Denny's the next morning and I got a black coffee again and I drank it. No sugar, no cream. Usually I would hate this. I don't know what's happening with my taste. I know some of you guys obviously have been drinking coffee for a long time. Some of you guys are older here, and the older you get, I guess the more you like coffee, and I guess you like having less things in that coffee, but no sugar, no cream, nothing. Pure black coffee, and I love it. I really love it. For some reason, I like it. So I guess this is what it means to become 27 years old. You get into the black coffee, but I like it. I've been researching the health benefits all weekend. There's actually a lot of... I thought coffee was bad for you, and it can be bad for you, but like usually when you add all that shit inside of coffee, particularly the sugar, that's when it makes it bad. If you just drink black coffee, it's good. So there we go. Welcome to adulthood. I'm officially here every day. We're going to drink some black coffee, dude. This is from Dunkin' Donuts. I've got to start learning how to make my own coffee with the Keurigs and all that stuff. But it was only like $2. It wasn't that expensive. So it's much cheaper than like caramel lattes at $6-7. So, all right, there we go. Black coffee every day on the show. Mayo is not next. Don't even, nope. The taste buds are evolving, but not to the point where mayo is going to be next. And if it does, then that my life was a lie if Mayo ends up being next. So there we go. We got some black coffee here today, and let's rise and shine, and get into it. Let's start off with Palantir. So this was one of the most exciting Palantir Sundays that I've experienced in a long time. I've been covering the company for about 4 years at this point. Never had a Sunday like this. I think there was one Sunday back in October 2023 where Karp did the BBC interview. And that was a big interview because the stock was still kind of in the gutter, and they were trying to get the NHS deal. So that was really important. So I remember that day. That was a big Sunday. I was in Vegas, so I clearly remember that Sunday. And I just woke up to like all these like clips of Karp talking at the BBC, and like that was like that was a big Sunday. But I've never experienced a Sunday in terms of contracts and news the way we experienced a Sunday last night. So what happened last night? Here's a basic rundown of all the things that happened in the context of Palantir. Let's spend a little minute on this, and then we'll keep going into some of the macro stuff, crypto, and we got a lot of other stuff to get into as well. So Karp put out his end of year video thanking employees and investors. I should actually play that video. First off, let's play that video. For those that didn't see it, 2-minute video. Let's play that. Here's Karp for his end of year message, and then we'll get into all the other things we had yesterday on Sunday. As you can see, he's skiing right here. This is my CEO, bro. This is my CEO. I love it.
From everyone at Palantir, a very, very, very Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and a truly wonderful New Year. This has been an extraordinary year for Palantirians the world over, and our supporters the world over. We got into the S&P, which is a sign of the juggernaut that our products created. We made people understand that ontology is the power engine that makes LLMs actually useful on the battlefield, in the commercial arena. We are at the core of making the obvious superiority of the West not just a moral platitude, but a factual reality in industry, especially in America, on the battlefield, both for America, most importantly, as the leader of the free world, and for our most important allies. We are grateful to the people who installed our product, helped us build our products, and have used our products, especially those that are in harm's way, even as we speak. Also, exceedingly grateful to all of you individual investors who took the time and opportunity and had the courage to look past conventional, rusty, crusty platitudes and look at our company as it is, talk to our actual clients and people whose enterprises we're transforming, and put your own money at stake. And on this Christmas, all of us Palantirians are very, very grateful for the role we play in making the West stronger, better, and undergirding its superiority as a force of good and something to be reckoned with, and on occasion feared. Thank you.
Palantir is different, man. Palantir is different. Alex Karp is different. What other CEO is skiing and then stopping in the middle of his skiing to give an end of year message? And it looked like on one take. I didn't see too many cuts in that video. It was just off the dome, him talking about his end of year thoughts on Palantir. One thing I'm going to steal from him right there. Anytime someone gives some analysis that I think sucks, I'm going to call it rusty, crusty platitudes. So like next time I hear an analyst like just give some crappy analysis, I'm like, those were some rusty, crusty platitudes. But look, it was a good message by Karp. I thought it was very important. And then after that, a ton of stuff started happening. So as soon as that was at like 10 a.m., by 11 a.m., an hour later, we got Elon following Palantir on X. That was a big deal because all of us felt like, hey, there is a connection between Elon, Doge, and Palantir, but none of us really could prove it. But we all kind of felt it was there. JD Vance, Peter Thiel, like it was just obvious, like, hey, maybe there's something here that's going to really help Palantir's government business. By the way, the Bank of America analysts, Wedbush, all these other people have been saying also, yeah, we think government growth should go higher based on some of these connections. And so an hour after Elon followed Palantir, which was already a big deal, the Financial Times, I'm pretty sure you guys have seen this headline. If you've not, it's a big one. They reported that Palantir, Anduril, and SpaceX SpaceX being an Elon Musk company, and others like OpenAI are creating a joint group to bid for government contracts, likely a function, in my opinion, of all of them realizing that Doge will make procurement much more effective, which should fuel the government side of Palantir business. So you had this headline drop yesterday, which was very, very important because essentially the headline was saying that you've got a lot of new modern defense contractors and modern companies, SpaceX that competes in a variety of ways with Boeing, Palantir that competes in a variety of ways with Lockheed and Raytheon and all these guys. They're going to create this consortium, and Palantir and Anduril actually announced 2 weeks ago that headline when Palantir hit $70 that day, they closed above 70. That they're coming up with a group to like make things more effective and efficient inside of the government. And we didn't really know what that meant, but the headline was kind of cool because Palantir and Anduril were working together again. They already worked together on the Titan contract. And so now it looks like, and this news went viral yesterday on Twitter. Pretty much every single big account was just like, holy crap, like Peter Thiel's taking over the government. Like you've got all this different stuff happening. Essentially, the way I read it is that more and more people are starting to recognize what's happening with Palantir, particularly because of the idea that Palantir is forming a group. I mean, Palantir should not be in the conversation with all these other big name companies. And as of 2 years ago, no one would think they get in the conversation, but they are squarely in the middle of this conversation. And they're one of the pivotal parts of this conversation actually becoming real because they're providing the software layer for a lot of this stuff to make sense. So you've got Palantir, SpaceX, OpenAI, Anduril all coming together to essentially work to have a joint group in a way to bid for government contracts. And I would imagine Elon's influence with Doge is going to help at least get Congress to be a little bit more thoughtful on how they think about procuring software versus, just giving contracts based on political ties, which has really been happening over the past couple of decades. Then you had David Sachs, the new AI czar, publicly acknowledging Palantir by resharing a clip of him discussing why he felt Palantir was uniquely differentiated with their software. He was actually taking shots at his co-host on the Olin podcast, Jason, by laughing at him and saying that, Jason laughed at me when I was buying Palantir. Now Palantir is actually one of the more influential companies in the world. So you had Sachs, again, the AI czar, very influential in regards to AI policy. That will indeed have an impact on Palantir to some extent. He's acknowledging Palantir publicly. Then you have the Olin podcast actually dedicate a few minutes to discussing CARP over the weekend. And Chamath reshared a clip by none other than our own Arnie from the podcast about CARP's critique of the software industrial complex. And then you had Bill Ackman post that he had read an advanced copy of CARP's latest book, and he completely agrees with the message along with the idea of Palantir and Anduril coming up with a joint group to bid for government deals. So you had the Olin podcast talk about Palantir over the weekend. You had Bill Ackman talk about CARP. You had David Sachs talk about Palantir. You had the Financial Times with a bombshell report. You had Elon following Palantir on Twitter. And then you had CARP giving out his end-of-year message to employees and investors all at the same time, with Palantir holding $80 above $80 in the pre-markets, $80.72 currently right now, up about 0.16% in the pre-markets. Pretty exciting stuff, dude. Pretty exciting stuff. And that's what we got going on in the context of Palantir. What is the takeaway for investors? So I'll give two kind of simple takeaways. Number one, in the context of the stock price, I have no idea where the stock goes. We're at $185 billion market cap. We're well over 350% year to date. We have 10 days left, and we're going to look at some stats in a little bit about what the rally looks like towards the end of the year, which I think could propel Palantir potentially even to $90. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but there is a world in which that can happen, maybe 85. But there's also a world where it gaps back down to 75, 70, and it kind of chills there, and there's nothing, we can't really be too upset about that. So in terms of stock, no idea what happens. What I can say is my second takeaway is that I think that the momentum behind the stock is not just a function of the NASDAQ ETF flows, which definitely happened on Friday, which is why we got that big pump at the end of the day. It's not just a function of new government deals or new contracts. It is a function of pretty much everyone in the world starting to recognize that Palantir is a force to be reckoned with. And we are seeing this through the media coverage that the company is getting. It is at an all-time high since I've been covering the company, and I kind of think this is just the beginning. I think Palantir is going to be a name that gets talked on mainstream media, CNBC, Fox Business, Wall Street Journal, etc., at least once a week in 2025, because they're at the center of everything, and maybe many times a week. Right now Tesla's pretty much every single day, right? Because Tesla, Nvidia, Amazon, the Max 7, they're just that big. Palantir's not there yet. And I think if Palantir can then do the really hard thing, which is accelerate growth again, if they can do that, maybe get to 35, 40% by the end of the year, that's going to be very exciting. That's going to lead to some more momentum for Palantir. Last thing on Palantir, we'll share the Olin clip. This was Chamath and the team reacting to Palantir. They didn't even pay attention to Palantir 2 years ago. I mean, Chamath literally laughed at Palantir on the podcast, if you guys remember from the early years. Things have changed now as Palantir has become a bigger name to focus on and something you just can't ignore.
How do you want your company to work? and what is the business process you actually need to implement, and then let's just get that built. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but Satya Nadella had this clip that's gone pretty viral in the last couple of days, where he effectively said the same thing. And what he's effectively saying is all these big software systems are business rules wrapping a database plus an incredible go-to-market team.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what Alex Karp points to as sharp knives, steak dinners, and basketball game tickets. I don't know if you guys saw that clip.
I did see the clip. Yeah, he likes to win based on product, not on sales effort.
Nick, you should find this clip.
We don't play golf. What we do is we play software. We will if you want to actually compete on your product. And what's very special, and yes, do I enjoy humiliating people who have better steak dinners and sharper knives and better golf swings? Yes, I do. You know what? I really like that we win in that way. It makes me very happy. And it makes our clients happy.
But it really points to the heart of how the software industrial complex, that's what I call it, this $5.1 trillion, this software industrial complex, how has it evolved? I think it's people that build good point products, but when the market, meaning the shareholders and the public investors, demand growth, you have this natural expansion. And what do? They inflate the feature set, they inflate the cost, and then in order to sell that, they inflate the set of incentives that they give to the buyer. So
he goes on to basically say this is the problem with software companies. That, by the way, this is exactly what Karp has been saying for years, right? Steak dinners, PowerPoints, you're inflating expectations to get a deal done. You're not delivering outcomes. Now, what's really cool about this clip, and this is why this community matters so much, guys. The way they got this clip, the way the All In podcast, the #1 business and tech podcast in the world, got to see this Alex Karp clip is because Daily Palantir, which is an account I run with a friend that we started in 2022, posted this clip. And that clip went viral. It got 315,000 views. This is the exact same 35-second clip that the All In podcast was reacting to. This is why this community is so special, because we posted this clip on December 17th, just, as a good clip of Karp. This interview is like 8 months old. It's an old interview, but it was a good moment. And so we reposted this clip. It goes viral. The All In podcast ends up taking the clip, and then it leads to a massive level of coverage. That podcast gets tens of millions of downloads a week on people listening to Karp's message. And this is one of those things where when you have a community that is creating their own content internally about a company or a leader, because the company and the leader is so exciting enough to create content about in an account that's dedicated to covering the company every single day, which is, there's thousands of accounts that do that for Tesla and Elon Musk, you accentuate the message of that leader and by proxy, the message of the company. And you get really influential people to react to it, like the All In podcast. So I think that compounding new media effect mixed with legacy media that wants to start covering Palantir more because they're seeing it as a juggernaut as well, that's just going to lead. And this matters for investors, because the more eyeballs on your leader, on your CEO, on your company, on your new products and services, the more people want to buy the stock. And I think that's what we're seeing right now in the context of Palantir. And it's very, very exciting for this momentum to be happening right now. Drago says those who bought early on Palantir should feel amazing. We got in ahead of the big boys. That is correct. The big boys are absolutely coming in. We saw that with the NASDAQ ETF flows on Friday. There were 280 million shares traded by the end of Friday. There is no way. That's 3x the average volume. There's no way that was retail buying 300% more shares than they or trading 300% more shares than they do on a daily basis. That had to be the NASDAQ ETF inflows. Now, today is the first day Palantir is trading underneath the NASDAQ, not the New York Stock Exchange. So today is the first day that's happening. I guess the ETF inflows came in on Friday at the close. Maybe some more are going to come in today. We'll see. I think the majority of it did happen on Friday, though. But you got people that bought in. And now it's going to be a question of if regular people want to take profits here, which could cause the stock to go down even with the ETF inflows, or if people hold on to things or hold on to Palantir until the end of the year. I think there's a good shot people are going to keep holding, just given the momentum that they're seeing. So that's what we got in the context of Palantir. Let's move on to some macro stuff. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. Big day for Palantir. We will see how this plays out throughout the entire day. But overall, not a bad Sunday for Palantir. A very busy Sunday for Palantir in terms of all the different stuff that was going on. Not to mention the media loves a character like Karp. I agree, especially if a character like Karp is winning. Not just if, a character like Karp already, he's so eccentric and his hair is wild and he's saying all this stuff and that can get attention. But if you're winning, if your company's actually growing, if your market cap is expanding that really gets the media excited because, they want to cover people that are winning in their respective niches in regards to business. Now it's also a double-edged sword because sometimes they want to pull you down as well. And we've seen this with Elon. It's just the media attack on Elon is a lot more political, has to do a lot with oil companies advertising on mainstream networks. So it's a little bit more nuanced than versus Palantir. But look, right now the media likes Palantir, and as Palantir keeps growing and as new media keeps growing, that's also going to be very important for the influence that the company has long-term. Here we go. Let's get into some crypto news. MicroStrategy has acquired 5,262 Bitcoin for $561 million at $106,000 a coin. Saylor literally bought the local top. There is no denying it. Love Saylor, but he definitely bought the local top. It is what it is, but he did indeed do that. They now own 442,000 Bitcoin with an average of $62,257 per Bitcoin. So why is this bullish? Well, Saylor's buying Bitcoin. That's why it's bullish. Why is it bearish? Because of this. So someone asked right here, where is all the money coming from? Saylor, for those that don't know how he's able to buy all this Bitcoin and how he's been buying Bitcoin for the past 3 weeks, he's issuing shares to the market and people are buying the shares and he's then using the fresh proceeds to buy Bitcoin. So Saylor right now is offering, I'm just making up numbers, $1 billion worth of MicroStrategy stock to the market. He's doing an at-the-market offering, dumping those shares. Those shares are being bought because there's volume on MicroStrategy. People are buying and selling shares. Those shares are definitely being bought because of the NASDAQ QQQ inclusion, which means you got a bunch of ETFs, fund managers, money managers that are allocating to MicroStrategy to make it a proper allocation in their holdings in regards to the QQQ. That's creating liquidity to be able to buy up those shares. And as a result, that's diluting existing shareholders to do this, whereas the convertible note, which he has not done in 3 weeks, is borrowing money at a 0% rate, which will become equity in the future only if they convert at the strike price, which usually trades at a premium above where the current stock is. By the time that dilution happens 4 or 5 years from now, no one cares because the stock is already 2 or 3x in the context of MSTR, and shareholders are happy about that. This is the opposite of that. So basically, he's choosing dilution to acquire more Bitcoin because he thinks once Bitcoin goes much beyond 100,000, the outstanding shares won't matter, given people will flock to MSTR to gain leverage. I agree with him. I think if Bitcoin's at 150,000, no one cares about the shares outstanding for MicroStrategy because there will be so much demand of people wanting to get exposure. The problem is Bitcoin's not at 150,000. And because Bitcoin's not at 150,000, that is leading to, him to be down on his Bitcoin and for shareholders to get pretty pissed off right now. So that is the problem with MSTR. Look, it's not, I mean, it has definitely affected the stock. They're down about 1.29%. They were at 500. Now they're at 350. I think long-term, the strategy makes sense. But if you're an MSTR shareholder, you kind of just got to deal with what Saylor is doing right now. He thinks there's a big run coming. They were up 11% on Friday from the lows of the pre-markets on at 4 a.m. And the more Bitcoin you have when that big run happens, the better. But you got to get the money for that Bitcoin. And the only way to get it currently is to do an at-the-money offering. Now, Bitcoin itself is below 106,000 from when Saylor bought. It's at 95,000. Over the weekend, we kind of got a little bit of a tank on Bitcoin. Went all the way to 92,000 92,000 on Friday. We got to 93,000 over the weekend. We're above 93 at 95.1. It's looking pretty weak. I'm not going to lie. It's not looking like there's a ton of strength or momentum. Not really doing the stuff you want to see from Bitcoin going into the end of the year. But I guess we'll see kind of how the end of the year plays out. We'll look at some charts in a bit to understand what happens towards the end of the year for the broader stock market. That could have an effect on Bitcoin. We did get a rate cut. That should open up more liquidity for Bitcoin. But there might be a little bit of just, people taking profits because it's the end of the year. People are kind of tired and they just want to secure some of the gains that they've had. And that's why Bitcoin is struggling as well. So, I mean, we definitely Jay Powell's presser and his lack of cuts that were forecasted in 2024 shocked different parts of the market, even if a lot of it was just algorithmic selling because none of it was rationally based on a fundamental reason for equities to go down. But that took crypto off a cliff for a little bit. And now, Bitcoin trying to recover currently at this 95,000 range. Now, in terms of crypto volumes, and this is very important for Robinhood, we'll talk about Robinhood in a second. But if you just look at the Bitcoin volume chart, this is a new chart I've been looking at. If we go to October or September 23rd, we had $97 million or $97 billion of volume traded. Right? So that's going back to September 23rd. By November 4th, we were at $107 billion of volume traded. And by November 5th, after Trump got elected, you see it's getting up to like $300, $400 billion of volume a day. This chart is going up and to the right. And any decline that we're seeing in December, as you see, December 22nd, we had 170 billion traded. December 17th, we had 267 billion traded. That's a decline in 5 days, but that is still significantly above at 170 billion on December 22nd. Where we were at 107 billion on November 4th. So overall, the entire crypto trading volumes, and this chart tracks 500 or 1,197 total exchanges with 512 different categories, 15,940 total coins. This is a pretty accurate reading of how the Bitcoin trading volume, or not Bitcoin trading volumes, crypto trading volumes in its entirety have gone higher. This is good for Coinbase and this is good for Robinhood. For Coinbase and Robinhood, you don't really care if Bitcoin goes up or down. You kind of just care that people are trading it. Now, if Bitcoin goes up, people tend to trade it more. So that's why it helps. But Coinbase and Robinhood should most likely increase their volumes in the month of December from November, because we are meaningfully above November trading levels in December. So even if they just keep the current market share they have, that should be bullish for them in general. This is CoinGecko.com. CoinGecko.com. If you just type in CoinGecko total crypto market cap, I'll put the link right here for CoinGecko. You should be able to see this. And so look, this is a healthy trading market for Bitcoin, or for crypto in general, but we are still waiting for, the price action of Bitcoin to kind of match this volume. And what that's telling me is that we are diversifying a little bit just from Bitcoin. If Bitcoin is down while the crypto volumes are going up, which is okay, but it just means that Bitcoin might not be gaining most of the attention from this. Another coin that took a little bit of a tumble over the past couple of days is our good friend Fartcoin. We went from $1.20 to 63 cents, down 18%. So you are seeing the crypto market healing a little bit in terms of some of these meme coins coming down substantially. I mean, there were people buying this thing at $1.20 thinking Fartcoin would go to the moon. That's not happening right now. So I think this is actually really healthy. I don't like the meme coins catching this much momentum. It's taking a lot of money out from the actual crypto assets, and it's taking money out from the actual markets. Like, I think this money should be rather deployed into great growth companies versus Fartcoin. But nonetheless, the only reason people go to Fartcoin or these types of meme coins is because they have so much excess money that they're willing to lose some and gamble on it. And that's a sign of a little bit too much money in the system. So seeing this come down means like people are being more rational and they're taking their profits and they're probably shifting it to other areas. So we do have this happening right now in the crypto markets. Overall, Bitcoin still below 95,000 currently right now. Hawk Tua coin, that girl is getting called by the SEC. She is in some trouble. She hasn't posted on Twitter for 2 weeks. Yesterday, she posted a tweet basically apologizing to people that lost money and that she's working with her lawyers to cooperate. Very sad story, dude. She was building a media empire. She was extending her 15 minutes of fame. She gave it up for a meme coin, which is very sad. But nonetheless, that's what happened. And we will see kind of how this crypto market plays out. Overall, Sandler is keeping the Bitcoin price up, I think, single-handedly. The ETF sold a combined $800 million worth of Bitcoin on Thursday and Friday. So the ETFs have, definitely sold their share of Bitcoin. And that's because people were probably freaking out when Jay Powell did his whole press conference and the first thing they sold were their Bitcoin ETFs. It is volatile, but if we do get the right macro environments, then hopefully we do see crypto coming back and Bitcoin maybe above 100,000 by New Year's Eve as well, which is what Sandler and Tom Lee were predicting a couple weeks ago. All right, so that's what we got in the context of Bitcoin, and that's what we have currently in the crypto markets. Let's talk about some more macro stuff. So we got 15 minutes until the market opens. This is the last trading week of December. We are open tomorrow for a couple hours. So we're going to be closing by, I think, 1 p.m. It's going to be a half day. And we are closed on Christmas, obviously, and then we're back on the 26th and 27th. So we have 1, 2, 3 days left of December after today. Today would be 4 days. I mean, technically the 24th, so 5 days, but it's 5.5. Christmas is closed, and then the 31st is closed as no, New Year's Eve is open. So we have 5 days, yeah, because New Year's Day is closed. So next week, Monday and Tuesday, we're open, and then January 1st, we are closed. So we still have a decent amount of days left in this market, and I think right now everyone's trying to figure out what is happening, and can we figure out if the market will still have some momentum towards the end of the year. So let's take a look at some charts to kind of dissect if the market actually will have some momentum. Here's the first chart I want to look at. This is the S&P 500 towards the end of the year and when Santa actually comes to town. So we've been talking about this for a while. Bitcoin never closes, correct? Bitcoin does never close. We'll talk about Robinhood in a bit. I think Robinhood is down a little bit because of some Bitcoin volatility, but we'll talk about them in a second. So this right here is a historical reading of 1950 to 2023. So you got 73 years there because 50 plus 23 is 73. That's quick maths. That's the black coffee in action right now. The stock market Santa rally could give us one more bump at the end of 2024. The 7-day run ends positive 78% of the time, the best track record for any stretch. So we're talking from the 17th till the 31st. Those trading days at the end of the year ends positive 78.4% of the time. And on average, as you can see on the chart right here, you get 1.48% of returns. 1.48% from these levels on the S&P 500 would basically put us, I think, right about 6,000. Yeah, roundabout. I mean, we would get to basically the levels on the S&P. We're at what, 591 right now? Yeah, we basically get to levels that we were at right before J. Powell spoke, which is not too bad because it created a great entry point if we do rally back up to that 6,003 level. And, people could make a decent return if they bought the lows of that J. Powell rally. If you didn't, or that J. Powell press conference, if you didn't, then it is what it is. Then we just end where we are normally. We're up about 25% year to date for the S&P. If we can end, at 27%, 28%, we ended at 26% in 2023, then that's not a big deal either. So I think that's pretty promising to hear. We just need to make sure nothing crazy happens over the next couple of days. I don't think it's going to happen. I think people are tired. I think fund managers want to protect their gains. I think everyone knows that if they sell, other people will start selling. So they're going to worry about selling in January, especially if they want to book profits, which will also be beneficial for taxes. I don't see some massive sell-off in the broader equity markets towards the latter half of the year because historically that doesn't happen. And second of all, I think people just don't want to end a great year and make it messy towards the end by like taking profits early when they don't need to. I think most fund managers will be able to justify to their clients to keep them on the payroll by just showing good returns towards the end of the year. And that means having some of the biggest names in your portfolio, NVIDIA, Palantir, Tesla, et cetera, the ones that have done very well. So from that perspective, I think this year could end up being pretty good as we end out the next 5 days. Now, here's another chart that I thought was really interesting as well. Take a look at this. We've been talking a lot about diversification and breadth in the market. What's been the biggest argument? The biggest argument over the past kind of couple of weeks has been Mag 7, the QQQ. We can kind of see this compared to IWM, is getting a lot of gains, right? So most of the stocks that are up every single day are Mag 7 type of companies, big tech companies, not the S&P 493. And over the past couple of days, we've seen more stocks that are negative than positive. And I think we are on like a 10-day streak going back a week and a half ago of more stocks ending the day negative than positive. But the reason the S&P kept going up was because Apple is hitting new all-time highs. NVIDIA is getting back to 140, but it was at 120 going all the way to 135. Tesla's obviously new all-time highs. Meta's getting up there. Google's getting back to 200. Microsoft's trying to get to the 450 range. So we're seeing momentum in big tech, which is kind of leading the market, not in the 493 of the S&P 500 outside of Mag 7. So if you take a look at this chart, maybe that's not a bad thing. These are S&P 500 returns after long streaks of more decliners than advancers. This is tracking from 1990. And as you can see, with consecutive days of negative breadth, the largest was 1996. So 11 days in a row, we had more stocks go down than up every single day. The next year, we were up 35%. 6 months after, we were up 10%. On average, the next month, we're up 3%. The next 3 months, we're up 5%. The next 6 months, we're up 8.6%. The next year, we're up 14.8%. So about 15% on average, even if more stocks are negative than positive during a long streak of decliners versus advancers. What's my logic for why that's the case? Winners win. And if Google's up and NVIDIA's up and Apple's up, more of that money just wants to go to the safer bet, not the riskier, more quote unquote undervalued bet. And that leads to less breadth, but more solidification into some of the biggest names, which in this case are about 33% of the S&P 500. Right now, we're on 14 consecutive days of negative breadth. That's another reason I think we had a little bit of a pullback last week. When you're at 2 weeks straight of more stocks being down than up, it's probably saying we're getting a little top heavy in the markets. And that's why we saw a little bit of a decline. But potentially that could be a good thing, given the historical patterns of where solidification tends to go when the markets actually do get a bit more top heavy. And so we're going to see what happens in 2025, but that right now is one thing that is positive. Now, here are the S&P 500 targets for 2025. Pretty much everyone has us compounding at least 10%. You got the Oppenheimers and Deutsche Banks of the world saying we're going to 7,000. And then at the low levels, you have Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan saying we're going to 6,500. I think earnings growth, although it will decline from 2024, it is still going to be 8 to 9%. That is impressive for the broader markets. That is really impressive for the NVIDIAs, Amazon, Palantirs, Googles of the world, et cetera. And so if that's the case, You've got the S&P 500 probably going to give us, hopefully, at least 10 to 11% next year, which is not as good as the past 2 years at double digits, 25, 27%. But if we just hold on to gains, I think people will still be happy. And I think 2025 is going to be a really big question. What does guidance look like for Q1 at the end of Q4 when companies report earnings? What does earnings growth look like? What does revenue growth look like? And most importantly, what does the macro economy look like in regards to inflation coming down? Is CPI actually going to fall off a cliff once shelter comes down? Is automotive insurance going to come down? Automotive delinquencies right now are at the highest level they've been in 30 years. Is that going to finally reach its peak so that can start coming down? Are financials going to be back? Or is M&A going to be back? Are IPOs going to start coming back? All of these are going to be the questions that I think we're looking at in 2025. And if those questions can, go to the positive side, then I think we'll see some more momentum in the equity markets. So that's what we got in the context of the macro. That's what we have in the context of the macro. It's not the S&P 493, it's 492. You forgot Palantir. Palantir is now in the Mag 7. We're calling it Mag 8. Palantir is at $200 billion. It's funny because Palantir is only Palantir is 20% of the way to getting to a $1 trillion market cap. It's wild. I know the valuation's up there. I know, 200 billion right now, 185 billion is kind of crazy. But the market's willing to give it that valuation, dude. And right now we're 20% on the way to $1 trillion, which is kind of insane. Kind of insane. Let's do this. Let's do this poll for you guys, or this question. I'm just gonna put it to the audience and see what you guys think. I said this last night, but the way we would rephrase this is, all right, let's do this. Do you think Palantir is justified at a $200 billion market cap? It's at 185. Let's just round up to 200 billion. At 200 billion, is it justified? Put a 1 in the chat if it's justified. Put a 2 if it's not. Let's just see. A 1 if it's justified, a 2 if it's not. Because although this is a Palantir channel, and a lot of you guys like Palantir, I know a lot of you also are just like, no, bro, this valuation is not sustainable. Yeah, look at this, 50-50. I see a ton of 1s and a ton of 2s. A ton of 1s and a ton of 2s. I'm like 1.5, right? Because I'm like, well, if you justified using this and that, like you can justify it. But on the other hand, I'm like, well, you look at price of sales, you can't really justify it. So I think there's a healthy balance of, hey, it is definitely expensive, but the market's willing to pay it for a reason. And the reason the market's willing to pay it is because there's other things that they're looking at outside of just numbers. Yeah, I see a lot of 2s, right? So I see a lot of 2s, but a lot of you guys aren't selling because you just love Palantir too much, which is why the stock keeps going up, because none of you guys are freaking selling this thing. And why would you, right? Winners win. There's kind of no reason to sell, in my opinion. I mean, even if it tanks back to 50 or 60, that's like still, well, okay, I'm buying the dip on that and I'm going long for the next 10 years still. So I think that is the conundrum that Palantir is in. But as Taylor says right there, you can't sell, even if you think it's up there. You had got to enjoy the ride. And that is the fun part about it. Dude, I've gotten a lot of messages from people on Twitter, particularly. I have to respond. I'm going to spend like the next 2 hours after this market open responding to all the DMs I have. But there's a decent amount of DMs of people that bought at $8. And this one guy, he told his parents to take their life savings and put it in at $8. And he messaged me yesterday. And he showed me this text message conversation he had with his mom. And, they're just so grateful, right? Because his parents are retired and they trusted Palantir at $8. And he said the only reason they bought is because I sent them your videos. And it's kind of wild to see this happen, bro. That's a 10x on a couple's net worth in terms of their retirement. And it's pretty, I don't know, it's pretty emotional. And I can only imagine how Karp and the team feels, because they're the ones that are actually building the company to get it to this point. So it is pretty amazing. It is pretty exciting. Yes, it is expensive, sure, but I don't care. I think the average person deserves it because they invested in Palantir when the world didn't believe in Palantir. And sometimes that's just how the world works. Sometimes you take a risk on an idea that the rest of the world doesn't believe in. That is actually a good idea that is doing good for the world, at least in my opinion, in regards to upholding Western values, all that stuff. And you get rewarded by the markets, even if it is a little bit irrational for the markets to be rewarding it, because everyone wants to be part of the story. And they're paying a hell of a premium to be part of that story. So that's what we got in Palantir. We got 5 minutes until the market opens. Let's talk a bit about some headlines. PayPal. So there is a controversy going on right now with PayPal and Honey. Honey is a Chrome extension, browser extension that made no sense. But it's this thing that you, as a creator, apply to your like YouTube account, TikTok account, etc. And when you sell products, Honey gives you these affiliate links to get more commissions from selling products. Apparently, they've been stealing a crap ton of commissions from content creators by replacing their affiliate links. So if I had an affiliate link to sign up to, I don't know, Trading View or something. I don't use them, but if I get like $10 for everyone who signs up using my affiliate link, Honey, if I connected my account to Honey would be using their affiliate link because they get money inside of their business, and I would be missing that link if Honey had access to my personal data. That's the way I'm interpreting this controversy. PayPal bought Honey for $4 billion in 2020, and that's why people are saying this is bearish for PayPal. I don't think this is that bearish for PayPal. I don't think this is that big of a deal, dude. Like, I don't think PayPal is a short. I don't think anyone should buy puts on PayPal. I mean, PayPal's down 0.36%. And look, maybe when the market opens, PayPal collapses 5%, but there might be some lawsuits. PayPal might have to pay a little bit of money. PayPal's already deeply undervalued, in my opinion. Fair value is closer to 120. I don't think the Honey controversy, which is not a big part of their business, to be honest, is going to lead to some massive decline in PayPal. So I think if you own PayPal, you really shouldn't be that worried. I could be wrong. We'll see it in the next 3 minutes how the stock opens, but I think this is kind of a nothing burger. And maybe some of you guys know more about this and this is like much more serious, but from my understanding, this is like not that big of a deal. I can't believe they paid $4 billion for Honey in 2020. That might have been a little expensive in 2020 when valuations were crazy. But when I found they paid $4 billion for Honey, I was like, okay, that's a lot of money that they dished out. Maybe that's also why PayPal stock fell in the gutter a year later. But yeah, I don't think this is that big of a deal. We'll see how it plays out. But that is one of the headlines to care about if you are interested in PayPal. Where is Palantir pre-markets? We're at $80.89. Got about 3 minutes left. Grab is flat in the pre-markets. Mercado Libre 17.20. Nubank is down another 0.5%. I had Sam on the show on Friday's market close. If anyone wants to go back and watch that, we talked about Nubank and Mercado Libre for a good 30 minutes. So if anyone's interested in Nubank, you can go back to that market close and get a little bit of an update on his thesis on Nubank as well. Robinhood down about 1.12%. Okay, so I think Robinhood's down primarily because Bitcoin had some weakness. Bitcoin closed at like 97 on Friday. Now Bitcoin's at 95, so Robinhood's down 1%. Outside of that, I don't think there's any fundamental reason why Robinhood is down. One piece of news on Robinhood that is very exciting is we can officially say that we got 120,000 gold subscribers on Robinhood. I didn't finish out writing this tweet, but the Robinhood Gold Monday that happened from December 9th to December 16th was a $1 million pot that would be split evenly among everyone who signed up. The conditions for signing up was that you would buy a year's worth of Robinhood Gold early, $45 a year versus $60 a year. So you're saving 25%. And they would give you $1 million a split adjusted among the people who signed up. Everyone got $8.29. We got those screenshots of the weekend. That means Robinhood added 120,000 gold subscribers. In all of Q3, they added 190,000. So they added almost 70% of the amount of gold subscribers they added in all of Q3 in 1 week. They spent $1 million in advertising and made back $5 million in revenue because $45 times that 120,000 gives you $5 million. They might amortize that $5 million to show it monthly because it's a gold subscription. But if they show all of that at once because they're planning to like just collect more subscribers and they don't need to amortize that money they got, I mean, Robinhood just made $5 million in a week. And I think it's very, very exciting when companies like that are able to execute on different promotional tactics, do what they need to do. And a very, very successful tactic for Robinhood right there, getting another 120,000 subscribers for gold. Not bad. Not bad at all for Robinhood. All right, folks, we got 10 seconds until the market opens. I'm going to actually switch my mic right here and use a different mic to see if we can get the effect of the bell. So here we go, 9:30 a.m. Let's see if the bell cannot be from Temu. Stock market is now open. Wake your ass up. Hopefully that bell was way better. All right, back to my regular mic. Was it good? Was it bad? Was it a strong bell? I hope it was a strong bell because you guys have been missing the strong bells. Hopefully got there. All right, Palantir below 80. We opened down about 1%, $80. 1%, $80. No, we're back up, 80.18. $80.18. It's a half Temu bell at this point. $80.41, folks. We're holding above 80. Oh my goodness, we're about to go green. Are we about to go green? Are we about to go green? Let's see, dude, if we can actually hold above 80. Guys, we have never held 80 during regular market hours. Last time we were 82.70. We fell as soon as the market opened to like 75. Oh my God, we just went green. There we go. $80 is green for Palantir. People are buying Palantir shares at $80 currently right now. We're holding it. Holy crap. Oh my God, we're about to go to 81. Are we about to go to 81? We're at 81. We're at 81. $81 for Palantir. Just hit 81, just below 81. We actually got there. It is very volatile right now. Incredibly volatile right now. Very, very volatile, but we are holding just above that $80 range. Again, a lot of news came out over the weekend on Palantir. So I would imagine there's going to be some buy side pressure just from people on those headlines buying Palantir stock. But we are holding $80. And if we hit 81, I think we're going to get back to 81. There we go. Right back at $81, up about 0.5% currently right now. We have not dropped below 80 yet. We did for like 2 seconds at 9:30. Now at 9:31, we are healthily above 81. Look at that, $81.20. Just trying to hold above that $81 range. Pretty incredible for Palantir. We'll get back to Palantir in just a second. SoFi up 1.48%. That is not bad. Tesla 425. That's up 1.3%. Bitcoin 95,000. Mercado Libre 1731. AMD's at 121. Maybe AMD found its bottom around that 118 range. Rocket Labs up 3%. Not bad. Netflix 911 right now. Oklo $22. Robinhood down about 0.73%. $38.05. As the market opens, we got Netflix at 912. BlackBerry at 36 or 3698. This one was actually up about 20%, I think, on Friday. So $3.69 for BlackBerry. Kinder Morgan's up a little bit. Next Decade's up a little bit. Nike has had a weird week. Bill Ackman actually tweeted about another a shoe company. And I responded to him. I was like, aren't you long Nike? Like, why are you promoting another shoe company? But Nike right here, 76.98. That's basically flat. IWM is up a little bit. The Qs are up a little bit. TMDX is up a little bit. Hims is up. Hims is up 4.58%. They are up. Novo Nordisk is up 5% after the FDA trial that went bad for them on last Friday. CleanSpark is down 2.78%. Grindr is up 1.82%, 1763. New 52-week highs for Grindr. Palantir 81.62. Look at that freaking strength on that bad boy. 81.70 on Palantir. Absolutely incredible. Currently, oh, we hit 82? Oh, sorry, guys. I missed it. We hit 82. Holy crap. I went to look at a couple other tickers for 2 seconds. 82. Yeah, you're right. 82. 82 for Palantir. Now, 82.70 technically is like the all-time high if you count the pre-market. So we got to get above 82.70 for a new all-time high. But there you go, dude. The fact that we were able to hit 82 and we were able to break above it just means that there's not that much resistance. I'm looking at the order flow right now. There's nothing. There's zero resistance. There are definitely people selling right here and taking profits, and that's why it's like struggling to go up and stay up. But there's no resistance. There's no like 500,000 shares at $82 that we're gonna have to climb over. So if there's enough buyers that come in, volumes at 12.8 million, we could see ourselves. I could see Palantir getting above that $82 range and potentially holding it, but we need a lot of buyers to come in and decide they want to buy at these levels. Robinhood 38.23. Robinhood just went green. There you go. Robinhood 38.34. Robinhood just went green. Robinhood is green. Palantir $80.85. SoFi 15.57. S&P 500 591. Whereas MSTR, Michael Saylor did buy 5,000 new Bitcoin today, down 3%, 352. That is because of the dilution. That's why MicroStrategy is down right now, 2.98% for MSTR. Tesla is up 430. Tesla sold off badly on Friday into the close. It was at like 445, 447, up from the lows of 410. It was an incredible recovery, and then it sold off in the last 5 minutes on Friday. So we're getting a little bit of a recovery right here. But Tesla's up. Robinhood's green. Rocket Lab's up 3.58%. Archer's up another 2.4%. Archer's been having a hell of a month as well. So Archer's not been too bad. Where is PayPal? Is it affected by Honey? No. Honey has zero impact on PayPal as of now. Dude, I saw the headline last night, and there was a lot of people talking about it. And I was like, this can't be the biggest deal for PayPal, dude. Honey, like, I forgot they bought Honey. I didn't even think that was like, I didn't even remember that acquisition. So, yeah, I think if you own PayPal, I don't think you should be that worried about this Honey headline. I mean, it might be some negative headlines. I can see maybe down a couple percent if it gets bad, but I don't think it's taking down PayPal's entire business. PayPal's a buy to me, and I think I'm going to be buying PayPal in 2025. I'm still doing some DD on it, but I think it's undervalued. It's one of those sleep well at night stocks. They're not going away anywhere, and their covered call premiums aren't horrible either. So PayPal, I don't think is in the worst situation. SoFi right here, 15.53. Tesla 4.28. Palantir still holding above 80, even though it's red. Still holding above 80. Now it went green. It's going red and green very simultaneously. It goes red, then it goes green. So it's definitely being volatile right now. 15 million shares have been traded in 5 minutes for Palantir. That is 3x the average volume. So you definitely have a lot of traders coming in right now. Robinhood 38.41. That's green. AMD's up 3%. Look at AMD. AMD's getting some love. Where is NVIDIA? Wow, NVIDIA 137. Who bought the 130 dip on NVIDIA? Who bought the 130s on NVIDIA? I know a bunch of you guys did. And if you did, congratulations. Or the 126 dip on NVIDIA. because Nvidia is not slowing down. Nvidia really trades with sentiment, though. It is so fun. There was no reason for Nvidia to be 126. The China monopoly investigation was the dumbest headline ever. But it really trades with sentiment, and it could go back down to 126 if there's some bad news about the semis that come out over the next couple weeks. But the fact that it's back at 137 means that investors are ready to own Nvidia in their portfolio, and they kind of just don't care about a lot of the other headlines, especially if they think they're going to grow. And Nvidia has given us no signs to say that they're not going to grow. Oxy's at 47.57. Warren Buffett did buy another 4 million shares of this bad boy on Friday. So Buffett is back to deploying some of his $350 billion in cash. Where is Apple? Apple is close to all-time highs at 254. Let's look at the Mag 7. Where's Goog's? Goog's at 194. That's green. Meta's green. Microsoft's green. Apple's green. Amazon's green. Nvidia's green. And then Tesla. Nvidia leading the way right now in the Mag 7. But all of these guys are currently green. A bunch of you guys are saying you bought Nvidia. Doug got some discount Nvidia. Edward got some Nvidia. Yeah, look, Nvidia at 130. I mean, if I had some money, I would have bought Nvidia. But at 130, it felt like a buy. 125, it definitely. I think a lot of people are waiting for 120 though, and I had no money. If it got to 120, I would have found a way to get some money because 120 is kind of stupid for Nvidia. But at 130, in this type of a bull market, that was the biggest dip we could have got on Nvidia. If we look at some of the Bitcoin names, CleanSpark's down 3%, Coinbase is down 2%, Robinhood's getting hit the least, only down about 1% right here. MicroStrategy's down 3%, Marathon's down 1%, Riot's down 3.6%, Bitcoin just below 95,000 getting dumped. What really sucks about Saylor buying $106,000 Bitcoin and 5,000 of them is two things. Number one, he bought the local top, which sucks, right? Because when you buy that much and then Bitcoin tanks $12,000, that definitely hurts because you could have just waited a couple of days. It is what it is. You can't be perfect on that. But number two, he diluted shareholders to buy expensive Bitcoin. And I'm saying expensive locally, right? Because Bitcoin could go to 130,000 tomorrow and then it's not expensive. But that is why MSTR is struggling right now. And that's why the MSTR proxies like MSTX are down 7% right here. The put premiums on this thing are crazy. I'm talking 40% in a month type of put premiums on MSTX. I mean, they are absolutely insane. But the problem is to get 40% in a month on your money, you've got to deal with the volatility of MicroStrategy. And that is not an easy thing to stomach for a lot of people. Palantir right here, just below $80.50. SoFi, 1552. Oh, some breaking news on SoFi. Biden is not going to pardon student loans for 38 million borrowers in the United States. That came out over the weekend. That's probably why SoFi's up as well, because SoFi's student loan business is not under jeopardy. I don't think it was ever going to be under jeopardy. Biden has 10 days left of being president. He wasn't going to be able to unilaterally cancel a ton of student loans, especially because the Supreme Court stopped him from doing it last time. But that's good for SoFi. More refinancing of student loans, and overall their business should benefit from that long term as well. Take a look at TSM. Let's look at all the semis. Let's look at all of the semis. TSM's at 203. Wow, TSM's up 3%. Holy crap. TSM doesn't move 3% like that. Broadcom's up another 5%. AMD's up 4%. AMD, what was the bottom on AMD? Bottom on AMD was 115 if you were up early on December 20th. Actually, no, that was at 11:30. So that was exactly at 9:30. So yeah, basically at the market open, that was the bottom, 115.9. Now we're at 123. Marvell's up 1%. ARM's the only one that's down 5%. Dell's up, Micron's up, Lam Research is up. Well, we're gonna have Jose on, by the way, at 10:15 today. So we'll have Jose on in about 30 minutes, and we'll get his thoughts on the semis. SMCI is up 1.3%. AMD's up 3.8%, and then Nvidia right here up 2.2% currently on the day. Not bad. TSM makes chips for everyone. Yeah, that's correct. TSM getting a lot of that money by proxy of Nvidia currently, or of the broader semi market currently right now. Lunar is down, right? LUNR, Intuitive. No, Lunar's up 18%. Did they get a new deal? This stock, Lunar, this was one of those names. Yeah, this thing's up 600% year to date. They probably got a new deal, I would imagine, if they're up right now. But this one moved on a lot of headlines earlier in the year. Lunar solidifies its position as the main player in NASA's near space network. They said, we are privileged to help NASA deliver essential data and transmission services that support missions navigating critical pathways between Earth, Moon, and beyond. So if I'm not wrong, it looks like they got, they expanded their data transmission and navigation services with the new NASA contracts for 5 years. 5-year extension on NASA contracts. That's up 17.9% currently right now. Nvidia up 1.89%. PayPal down about 1%. Palantir back below 80 in the 79s. Again, we did have people buying at 81 and 82. So you did have buyers come in, but the 80s, I don't know if it's going to be the easiest to hold. We're doing a nice job though. I mean, it's basically at 80, at 79.98, $80. So we're going to need another few hours to see how the market thinks of it. But this one is trying to hold up above that $80. Doug says, anyone else in my position? I have no losers for the year left in my taxable account. I cannot tax loss harvest anything else. All right. Let's see what you guys think. Is anyone in Doug's position in the chat where they have 0 losers and they are unable to tax loss harvest anything? Is anyone in that position? I think I'm in that position, but I'm only in 2 names, including grab, I guess 3 names. So I guess so. But I think I had some options early in the year that I tax loss harvested on a bunch of like random stuff that I had. So yeah, I think I kind of did my tax loss harvesting early in the year. It wasn't a lot, but this was not the year for me to tax loss harvest, which I guess is a good problem to have. Last year, 2023, I got rid of a lot of junk in the portfolio and took like, I don't know, I think like 20K of losses, which was nice. This year, that's not happening. Not happening this year. A lot of you guys are saying yes, yes. Someone says no, I have a bunch of losers. Matt Money says if I didn't have any losers in my account, I could always sell myself because I'm a loser. Goodness, Matt. That just means Matt has a ton of winners in his account. That just means he has a ton of winners in your account. Doug says I had losers I dumped earlier this month. Not a brag, folks. Just saying I have nothing else to sell. Yeah, well, this is good, right? That's how the market should be towards the end of the year. You should have markets that are going higher to the point where you don't really have losers. And so in January, when people take profits, they should be able to benefit from that. And then eventually they're going to have to pay taxes on that as well. But I think we're getting to the point at the end of the year where most equities should be recovering. And hopefully there's not a ton of losers on portfolios. Robinhood down about 1.63% as Bitcoin falls healthily below 94,247 right now. Might go below that 94,000 level. Where is Rocket Lab? Rocket Lab is up 4%. Rocket Lab's green. That's good. Enphase is down about 1%. Dow Jones is down a little bit. United Health is back about 500. Riggedy Computing is up 20%. Again, another quantum name that's getting some love. Broadcom right here, 4.7%. Celsius, I know, is definitely a tax loss harvest for a lot of people. This thing cannot find its footing. It was at 31 last week. Now back to 26.81. Energy drinks are just not that exciting to the market, it seems. SMCI is up 2%, but Celsius right here down another 0.5% today. Ford is down 1%. Red Cat's up about 9.7%. They just announced a partnership with Palantir last week. Rick Hospitality, that's up a little bit right here. Palo Alto's up a little bit, and then CrowdStrike down about 1.5% as well, currently on the day. Amit, what do you think of Micron? Well, we'll have Jose on in a little bit, and we'll get his thoughts. I like Micron. I don't know enough about the industry to actually invest in it, but what I did say before earnings is that it's a commodity inside memory storage. And as a result, they gave great earnings, but their guidance sucked. I mean, they brought in $1 billion less than what the market thought they would bring in for Q4. And that's not good because that means there's other competitors that are able to take market share away from them. Their data center revenue is growing 400% that year over year. That's great. But their PC AI computers and smartphones, which they make memory storage for both of those sectors, that was down substantially, which means people are not upgrading their laptops and people are definitely not upgrading their phones to the level by which Micron would get a bunch of tailwinds as a benefit. And that's the problem with Micron right now. And until that story changes, I don't know. We'll get Jose's perspective, but I don't know what's the super bull case on Micron here right now. If you're bullish semis long-term, I think Micron will be okay. But in the short term, that's the issue that Micron's having. Palantir is still fighting for 80, folks. We're getting a little bit of red across the entire market. Even Tesla went from about 430 back to 426. Tesla's still green. SoFi barely holding on to its green right now. Palantir, it's red, but it's holding the high 79s, low 80s. It's still trying to hold some of these levels right here. Abhishek, thank you for being here. He says, Amit, any views on genomic stocks? They were hot in COVID times and biting dust now. Any hope in 2025? I have thought about genomics for a long time. ARCG is the best way to get exposure to genomics. I'm not a fan. And the reason I'm not a fan is because I don't understand the industry and I can't even act as if I understand the industry. I think if you're going to invest in genomics, you have to have a really smart understanding of DNA sequencing as a methodology for creating life-saving drugs, cancer, therapeutics, all that stuff. And if you just don't care about it and you trust Kathy's analysis, you could just buy ARCG and just call it a day for the next 10 years. But I think this is one of those industries that's going to take a lot of time to develop because you're not going to be able to show earnings or results until the drugs work, which means the science has to work, and the science takes a lot of R&D to be able to achieve any positive results from. So I think it's not the best use of capital in my opinion, but if you're super bullish on just genomics as a sector, then I think there's plenty of ETFs like ARK to get exposure to it over the next 5 years. But I wouldn't expect massive returns tomorrow because there's just no catalyst. There's just no catalyst for it. And then if you buy ARK, you got to hope that ARK's due diligence is good because, you know, they've had, for the lack of a better word, questionable due diligence on some names. And so you got to really trust that they understand the sector as well. Speaking of ETFs, a lot of you guys have been asking me, Amit, when are you investing in India? I finally found the Indian ETF I want to invest in. I finally found it. Let me pull it up right here. I found it last night. I don't even remember how I found it, but I found it. I'm not investing yet, but I think it's going to be a DCA starting next year. Probably $500 to $1,000 a month into INQQ. This is the India small cap internet ETF. Not only small cap, because there's a lot of large cap internet companies, but this is one of the better performing India ETFs, INQQ. It's up 20% year to date. The MSIC, I forgot the ticker, but the regular small cap India ETF is only up 10% year to date. And the large cap ETF, I think, is up like 15%. So this is the one I'm looking at. It only has 53 million under management. There's not a ton of assets under management, but it is a smaller ETF that is highly focused on Indian internet companies. And most of those internet companies are 5 to 10 billion in market cap, which means they're on their growth trajectory to eventually get hopefully to 20 to 100 billion. And the other reason I like this ETF is because, again, India's GDP, the growth story for India's GDP is that they're growing at 7% for the next 10 years. America's GDP is barely above 2.8%. So India GDP growth story is obvious. It's happening. The question is how to get exposure to it. We can't invest in individual names because we would have to create an actual India brokerage account. INQQ, I think, is the best ways. So the top 10 holdings are Zomato, which is basically Uber Eats in India. You've got Reliance Industries, that's a bigger company. Freshworks, MakeMyTrip.com, that's a traveling company. There's a bunch of those if you look at their top 10 holdings. But most of these are small caps. Most of these are growth companies. Most of these are platform companies, the Airbnbs of India's of the world, et cetera. They're leveraging the internet. They're leveraging the billion people that are using the 700 million people that are using the internet, soon to be a billion people that are using the internet in India. And I think long-term, that ETF hopefully should outperform some of the other emerging markets. So that's what I'm looking at going into next year. All right, we're getting some red. Palantir's red about 1.3%. SoFi's down about 0.13%. Amazon's down. Tesla holding on by a thread. Bitcoin, wow, 93,844. Bitcoin just fell from 96 to 93 really quickly. That's not fun to see, but that's what we're happening. That's what's happening with Bitcoin. My uncle right here in the chat, he says it has some of the platform companies which are growing big with huge TAM. Yeah, I was talking to him about it last night, and he thinks it's one of the better small cap Indian ETFs. I don't even know how I found it, dude. I guess I was just like randomly on Twitter, and I don't know how I found it. I don't remember, but it was like at 11 p.m. last night, and I just started looking at it, and I was like, holy crap, this is what I've been looking for. I've been looking for, because I don't want to buy the large caps because they already grew a ton. They're up 400% from the lows of COVID. So it's definitely expensive. I want the companies that have growth and that are using the internet, because those are the companies that I think in India are going to do the best and take advantage of the growing GDP. And it looks like INQQ is a decent way to get exposure to it. So that one will be on the list for 2025. Enovix right here, that's up a little bit. BlackBerry's up a little bit. Archer is up 1%. It's down from being up 3%. So you're definitely seeing a little bit of a hit across the markets. QQQ, 518. The cruise lines are down about 2%. HIMS went from being up 5% to being up 1%. Meta is up about 1%. Bank of America's down a little bit. Uber's up about 1%. And then Google giving up its gains as well. So you got a little bit of a 950 slam happening across the markets. Rocket Lab's still green. Rocket Lab holding on, up 3%. PayPal's down 1%, not that big of a deal. MicroStrategy, wow, down 5.6%. MicroStrategy getting hit. MicroStrategy is getting hit. I saw a guy talking about an India e-commerce ETF. Why better small caps? Well, the reason I like small caps in India, again, is because they have the potential to grow, right? Investing in like Reliance or some of the Ambani companies or all that stuff, that's just, it's tough for those to show tremendous growth. But the small caps, I think, actually have potential to grow. And the small caps are much more innovative. They're able to take risks, right? They're led by more young, modern founders that are embracing digital media, all that stuff. So that's why I like the internet small caps. I think those are the ones that are the most exciting ones. I have INDA as an ETF. Yeah, INDA is the large cap ETF for India. That's another one that's not too bad. But that one, I just don't know if it's going to outperform some of the small caps here in India. Where is Palantir? All right, Palantir 79.45. So we're falling below 80. So there were people that bought Palantir at $82 today that are seeing it down at 79.45 right now. The question is if we recover back to the 80s or if there's enough sellers in that high or low 80 range to keep Palantir held down. Look, the market cap at 180 billion, doing less than 3 billion in revenue. Obviously, it goes without saying it is expensive. Price of sales of 68 when the average software company trades at a price of sales of maybe 10. That is expensive. Like there's no denying that. But people are willing to buy. And the question is, are they willing to buy into that $80 range? The real test for Palantir, I think, is going to be March 2025. Because remember, a lot of people are comparing Palantir to Tesla. And Tesla in 2021 peaked at 414, right? And then it fell all the way to 100. So you had a 60% drawdown. If that happens for Palantir, we're going back to 30. I've been pretty consistent about this, and I'll eat my words if I'm wrong. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Palantir is the biggest bubble in the world. I think that we're in a different macro environment. I think there's something unique about Palantir that the market's pricing in. Yes, are we extended 100%? But I don't think we're going back to 30, which would be the equivalent of the Tesla drawdown that we saw back in 2021. And if we do, then I was wrong. I don't think that's happening though. And if that doesn't happen, I think any dip, any substantial dip, which we really haven't had in the past 3 months at this point, is going to be something that people buy when it comes to Palantir. AMD holding its gains up 3.4% right now. It was up 5%. Now it's up 3.4. So again, the entire market getting a little bit of a red candle right there. Robinhood at 37.64. Robinhood's actually holding up not too bad. Robinhood bottomed at 34 last week. If we can hold the 35 to 37 range, I don't think that's horrible for Robinhood, especially if Bitcoin keeps declining. Bitcoin right here trying to hold that $93,700 range, but the chart does not look good and the candles continue to keep going down on Bitcoin. Again, Saylor is down about 15,000 a coin that he bought last week at 106,000. And that's why MSTR is down about 6% currently here right now as well. Rumble's up 58%. Yeah, Rumble got an investment by Tether, the crypto organization, of 750 million. That's why they're up 60%. I don't really know why that matters outside of them getting the investment. I don't know what the strategy is behind Tether investing in them. I think it has to do something with like censorship, resistance, cryptocurrency, videos, etc. But look, $700 million was just added to their balance sheet and the market cap is only 3.2 billion. So, you know, people are buying it because they're essentially buying cash. And that's why you got Rumble up about 60% here right now. 10:30 a.m. at 10 o'clock today. Yeah, it does look like we're getting a little bit of a hit right here. Matt says you are literally saying exactly what Tesla Bull said in 2021. Well, we'll see. Maybe I will end up sounding like a delusional Tesla bull by March of 2025. That's the timeline. Remember, it was October 2021, Tesla peaked. March of 2022, Tesla took a nasty tumble. And then by January of 2023, it really took a hit. But by March of 2022, we saw the beginning of like Tesla like falling off a cliff. If that happens to Palantir, we're going to be at like $50 by March of 2025, and then we're headed on our way back to 30 many months later. If the entire bubble collapses, I really don't think that's happening. And only time will tell, but I really don't think, and it couldn't happen, yeah, because the market cap is up there and the price of sales is up there and yada, yada, yada. But I think given the equity reports that we're reading on Palantir, I'm going to come out with a video today about UBS's $80 price target. One of the best equity reports I've read in my life. And they're literally acknowledging the price and they're like, hey, valuation sucks, but this is a special company and you need to look twice at it. And when you've got that level of excitement, along with the whole Doge, Elon Musk, everything that's happening, JD Vance, David Sachs, yada, yada, I think that'll create a lot of momentum for Palantir. Bitcoin right here, 93,902, trying to get back above 94. Grab is at 486. So you got Grab down about 0.82%. Every $1.50 of Grab, or more now because it's under $5, every like $1.55 of Grab is cash. So the business is worth about $350. Cash is worth $150 right now. That's why I am also a buyer of Grab at these levels. Amit, what do you think of Next? I have done no research on Next. I know a lot of people like it. I have not looked at it. I don't know. I know it's an energy play. Don't know too much about them, but Next down about 1% or 0.5% right here. I've got to do a little bit more research on these guys. I've just not taken a look at them at all right now. Amit, so you will sound like an idiot in 2026, but be a genius again by 2030. Yeah, that's the funny thing about this. Like Tesla went down to $100 from 400, but now Tesla's back at almost 500, right? So like, if you just held and bought those dips in a generational company, which if we get Palantir at 30 again, my goodness, will people buy the dip? I mean, like, that's what I'm saying. If people are going to buy the dip at 50 and 40 and 30, I don't know if we easily get to 30. I mean, the institutions are going to be like just hungry for exposure if this thing comes back down to even 45, in my opinion. So I think it's a different landscape than Tesla in 2024 or 2021, but the market will tell us over the next few months kind of how they think of this. Tesla holding on to 425, up 1%. Amazon at 224. Bitcoin not being able to get above that $94,000 range. And then Palantir, where we're at on Palantir, 79.49. Still holding the high 79s, but definitely below $80 currently right now. Yeah, we're not almost at 500 right now. I mean that, we got to 500. We were at 480 like a week ago for Tesla, but we're at 425. I mean, we're definitely at those levels that we were at back in 2021 with more shares outstanding. So, definitely was harder for it to get there. But look, Tesla's had a hell of a recovery. I mean, whoever's been bearish on Tesla, you've been wrong. That's just true, right? If you've been bearish on Tesla since 100, you've been wrong. Objectively, you've been wrong. Like, it's a matter of fact. You've been bearish on Palantir since 30, you've been wrong. Like, it is what it is, and we can debate about $400, $450, $500. Eventually, Tesla's going up. Like, we know this. And I don't think there's that many people that are thinking Tesla's the biggest bubble in the world like they thought in 2021. Why? A, because of the Trump relationship. B, because FSD is real. C, because robotics are becoming a real thing. D, because all the equity analysts on Wall Street have a different interpretation of Tesla than they did in 2021. Almost all of them objectively are upgrading their stock price targets to 450 to 515. And so we're seeing the street start capitulating around Tesla as well, because they're just like, yeah, we were wrong. This is a real story. And this story is not going anywhere. So as long as 2025's macro holds up, I think Tesla's going to be in a strong position. Here's Kathy Wood. She did an interview with Bloomberg over the weekend. These are her thoughts currently on Tesla and Elon Musk, and then we will keep going from there.
Well, I think one of the reasons he is dedicated to this is because his own companies have faced such regulatory pressures and obstacles, and he just knows he could change the world even faster than he already has if he got some of those obstacles out of the way.
But Kathy, can he do that safely though? And I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I mean, a lot of those regulations are, kind of meant to kind of protect the consumer to a certain extent from car crashes or whatever. It's one thing to move fast and break things. It's another, to break your customer.
No, I think if you listen to Elon Musk and safety and focus on delighting the end consumer, Tesla has the safest cars in the world. And yet the regulators in the last 4 years have focused on almost every accident and fatality in an accident in a Tesla car, as opposed to in the other 40,000 accidents. So I think that he understands that there is an important place for regulation, that safety of the consumer is paramount, that we're not going to neglect that. Mm-hmm. But there is such a thing as regulation gone too far. I've seen statistics that in the last 4 years, regulations piled one on top of the other, and from different departments have taken 6 percentage points off of real GDP. Yeah. So that has to change.
So if you believe the regulations will change, that's going to be bullish for Tessie. But the question is if those regulations actually will change. And the market is obviously hoping that Elon has enough influence on Trump to get those regulations to change. Apple right here, 255. Apple is still green. Nvidia is green as well, up 2%. Palantir now is down 2%. Palantir down below that $79 range. So Palantir showing some weakness. Bitcoin, very volatile. It was just at 93.2. Now it's at 94.2. It's just incredibly volatile, but getting above that 94,000 range. Nubank down another 1%. This one is getting hit badly. Robinhood right here, 37.60. Carnival Cruise down about 4%. Oaklow's down 6%. Affirm's down 3%. BlackBerry's still up 1.36%. One of the early Palantir investors, Lee, they might still be watching this. They're heavy into BlackBerry. And so they bought like 160,000 shares of Palantir. Now they're buying BlackBerry. There is a thesis around BlackBerry. Another guy, Prakash, who's big in the Palantir community, he was buying Palantir at $8. He's buying BlackBerry. I haven't taken the time to do due diligence on BlackBerry. It's more of a cybersecurity play now. It's not the phone anymore. But there are some people that are excited about that name. $2.2 billion market cap, and the street has started to wake up a little bit more towards BlackBerry. I think they were up last week. How much? They're up 9% year to date, and they're up 65% in the past 6 months. So a little bit more than the S&P in the past 6 months. So BlackBerry is one of those names. Again, haven't done any research on it, but there is some thesis there. I just haven't looked at the thesis at all. Walter says BlackBerry is very big in enterprise device control software. Yeah, they've completely pivoted from where they were, 10 years ago when they were competing with Apple for iPhones. What does Palantir go to if it is slightly overvalued at $80? I have no clue, dude. I mean, at this point, Palantir, it could go to 70, it could go to 90. I think none of us know. I think all of us, bulls and bears, have been humbled by price action on Palantir. I mean, no one in their wildest dreams, I think, was expecting $80 at the end of the year. And there may be some people that were expecting that, but I think the far majority of people, at least the people that I talked to in the community, they were happy if we could hit 30, because it was a struggle to get a hold above 25 for the majority of this year. And then all of these gains from 30 to 80 came in the past 3 months since S&P inclusion. Palantir officially now rebalanced into the NASDAQ today as well. So I don't know. I have no idea where price action goes, but I do think I do think it's harder for it to get back into the 30s. I don't think it's gonna be that easy for it to tank 60%. Bro underestimates my wildest dreams. Look, I had a feeling Palantir would get to 80 one day. I don't think it would happen in 2024. I did not think it would happen in 2024, but it is now currently here. Do you think Snapchat has any future? It depends on if TikTok gets banned. We're going to know in like 3 weeks if TikTok actually gets banned or if Trump saves it. Snapchat right here down about 2%. If TikTok does get banned, I think that's bullish for Snapchat and bullish for Meta, because you're just going to have 150 million people go to different platforms. But if it stays afloat and the Supreme Court's going to decide that, then I don't think it's bearish for Snapchat, but that's definitely not bullish. And in terms of does Snapchat have a future? Yes, because they're growing daily active users, they're growing their monthly active users, but they still can't monetize effectively. So they're going to have to figure out how to actually show the street a profitable growth plan of monetization. They're not profitable, dude. It's been 6 years. They're not profitable, or not more than 6 years. They've been almost 8 years at this point. So that's the biggest hurdle for Snapchat, because a lot of their audience is younger and they just don't have the money to spend. Advertisers don't want to pay that much. And so that's, I think, the biggest issue for Snapchat. Rumble right here up 73%. So Rumble getting a lot of love. Micron is down a little bit. Again, we'll have Jose on in about 10 minutes. We'll get his thoughts on the semiconductor ecosystem. Apple's at 254. NVIDIA still at 137. MicroStrategy down 5% here. SoFi goes red. Grab down 1%. Bitcoin back below 94. AMD's up 5%. AMD, money's coming into AMD. AMD's not struggling with the rest of the market. And then Robinhood right here at 2.2% down. Netflix at 902 currently right now. All right, that's what we got going on. Let's listen to Dan Ives. Let's get his thoughts on the market. We'll see what he has to say. He has a new, oh yeah, Dan upgraded Apple. He's upgrading Apple to 300. So let's listen to Dan about Apple, and then we'll keep going from there. But we do have a new upgrade on Apple from Dan from 250 to 300.
To have best dressed guy on Wall Street, man. Best dressed guy.
Great to be here as always.
All right, so another bullish note. In all fairness for the audience, you're pretty much bullish on all tech. You're always bullish. AI party, it's 10 o'clock, goes to 4 o'clock, there's an after party. I understand the whole narrative. But on a very serious note, we're looking at Apple right now. What pushes this company even higher?
I mean, our supply chain checks coming out of Asia are bullish. I mean, I think right now they're trending 5 to 10 million iPhone units ahead of the street. And what that means is you have a strong holiday season. The AI revolution on the consumer side comes through Cupertino, and that's worth $30 to $40 per share.
All right, so you're seriously bullish. By the way, your price target is at 300. The consensus on the streets at 255, right where the stock's trading at right now.
Sure.
Is in fact, so almost everybody else sees the stock pretty much stand where it's at. So I want to get to some of the data from your note. It's a really good note that's out today again. Your estimate is for 240 million iPhones to be sold in fiscal year 2025. You also say there's 300 iPhones that need to be upgraded, basically haven't been upgraded in 4 years. That's a big chunk of those non-upgraded iPhones. I want to ask you, is it just Apple Intelligence? Is that what people are upgrading for? Or is there something else in there?
And there's two things. I mean, one, look, this super cycle, it's really going to be an AI-driven super cycle for Apple. Half of it is 300 million of the 1.5 billion iPhones. They haven't upgraded in 4+ years. So you're seeing that play out really across the globe, including in China. But ultimately, we could talk about the AI revolution from an enterprise, goes through Godfather of AI, Jensen, NVIDIA, and as well as Palantir and others. The consumer AI revolution from an Apple Intelligence will come through the iPhone.
Now, Dan, you know I'm a fan of yours, but I do have to push back on one thing. I know you talk to a lot of developers, and a lot of developers are creating apps for iPhones, but they're also creating apps for laptops. And we have not seen an AI revolution in laptops. Everybody keeps saying we're going to see this big churn and people buying new laptops to get these AI capabilities. Why are phones so much different than?
Is that actually my shirt? I don't know this. First of all, I didn't FedEx him my shirt, but it does look like the type of shirt. It looks almost exactly like the same. It might not be, but it looks really similar, dude. It looks very similar to the one I wore. Maybe he heard me talking about it. Maybe he bought it over the weekend.
On laptop.
I think, first of all, phones, that's the first step in terms of these developers. Hundreds of apps that will be built on top of Apple Intelligence in terms of from an AI perspective. When you look at laptops and iPads, that's coming. That's why right now, this is a renaissance of growth for Apple. First the iPhones, then ultimately the rest of the product line. But that's why right now they're playing, look, they're playing chess. Others are playing checkers in terms of AI revolution.
Okay, even if they're playing chess, there have to be some benchmarks here. So again, you're calling for 240 million iPhones sold in fiscal year 2025 on the strength of Apple Intelligence. So when we're looking at this, if they do 220, is that a failure? Is that a referendum that Apple Intelligence isn't working? It's still a whole lot of iPhones, and still a lot of those have to be upgraded. But what's the number in your mind that they really have to hit for Apple Intelligence to be a quote unquote success?
Yeah, and I think, and look, this is going to be multi-year, but 220 million, it's a line in the sand.
Okay.
230 million, bullish. 240 million, Cook's going to be in the dance for that AI party. And I think as this all plays out, all of our checks coming out of Asia are showing much more toward a 240 million. And that's why, look, the bears, they can't see AI in the spreadsheets. So this is all just starting to play out for Apple, which is why I think 4 trillion on the horizon.
It's easy.
I don't think it's the exact shirt, but it definitely looks like it, bro. I did say it's from Kohl's. I said the brand name, APT9, Apartment 9. That's the name of the brand. Maybe he went on, but I don't think it's the exact shirt, but it looks really similar. It looks really similar. Anyway, $300 for Dan Ives on Apple. Look, I've never been the biggest fan of Apple. I love the company. I have like 5 Apple products that I'm using right now. I don't like the stock. I would not be buying the stock at these 250 levels, but it is melting up with the rest of the market. And Dan's been right about Apple. At the end of the day, passive index flows, ETF flows, they're going to buy Apple every 2 weeks. They buy ETFs, they buy the NASDAQ, they buy the S&P. That requires them to buy Apple. And so if they're buying Apple, it's going to take Apple higher. And again, Apple's buying back a lot of their stock. They have $100 billion in cash. I mean, the fundamentals are obviously, it's amazing. It's Apple, but it's one of those things where I don't think the growth is there. If they show any level of growth, I think it probably goes above 300 because right now the street's factoring like almost 0% growth for Apple. So that's going to be the biggest thing I think for Apple going into 2025. Okay, so that was the price target upgrade on Apple. Here's another thing that I had to answer this question, then we'll go from there. CJ, thank you for the $2 super chat. He says, bro, it's the same shirt. If it is, that'd be super dope. I don't know if it's the exact same shirt, but if it is, that would be incredible. Okay, so someone asked right here, Amit, what is your DCA plan or what is your strategy for 2025? I answered it last night in the market close, but I'll reiterate here, not the market close, the Sunday future show, but I'm curious what people think. My strategy again, and I think I've talked about this before, but January, I'm selling all my hood options. I have a lot of them. I'm selling them. Those are expiring early January, so I kind of have to sell them. And with that money, I'm doing 2 things. Number 1, buying a little bit of Google, probably going to buy 100 shares of Google. Number 2, going to finish the Grab position, probably getting another 5,000 shares of Grab. After that, after buying Google and Grab, I am leaving that money and waiting until the end of February. And that is my plan. Now, why am I waiting until the end of February? Because I want to see what happens for Q4 earnings in the stock market. Palantir right here down about 3.65%, getting hit right here. But more importantly, I want to see what happens with Trump's first 60 days in office. What policies does he put out? What is the tone of the market? How are they interpreting Trump? Number 2, I want to see Q1 guidance. And I think it is totally appropriate if you're holding on to cash to not be eager to deploy it in January or February, unless we get a ridiculous, like if Robinhood goes back to like, I don't know, $27, like we get a stupid dip, I will be buying that. But if we don't get a stupid dip, Tesla right here, 418, Tesla's getting hit. If Tesla goes back to like 350, I'm buying that dip, right? But if that doesn't happen, assuming January and February are relatively stable, I want to get Q4 earnings and I want to see Q1 guidance. Because that right there is going to tell us if we're going to 6,500 on the S&P or if we're going to be chilling at 6,000 for the next 6 months and we're going to be stagnant. So that is my plan. Before I sell puts, before I DCA, before I do any of that stuff, I'm going to hold on to the money and I'm just going to wait. And I think that's my strategy. So not going to be doing any crazy buying, finish the grab position, get a little bit of Google, and then that's it. And unless, like if Rocket Lab, for example, goes to like $20, I will immediately sell puts at $15 or $16 because I think that I would be happy to buy those shares. But if Rocket Lab's still at 25, like I'm not super eager to jump in and sell puts at 22 because like I just don't know how the market's going to turn out. And I think if you at least get 2 months of data, we can have a better understanding of where this market's going. SoFi right here at 1518, down about 1.07%. There might be a thing in 2025 where, you know, we have a sloppy, sluggish start after a really good 2024. It's not crazy to think that could happen. It's also not crazy to think that tech has amazing earnings and, you know, this bull market AI revolution is not stopping and we just go higher. It's just markets are definitely, you know, pricey from a price to earnings and price to sales ratio on the broader S&P. And I think we're going to have to see how the market is ready to deal with that going into the first 6 months of the year. AMD not getting hit, Al. The entire market going down. Robin right here at 3730. Netflix below 900. Affirm down 4%. AMD holding on to its 5% right here, 4.29%. Not bad for AMD currently right now. Amit, are you also selling your 2026 options? So I have a number that I want to sell them at. And I think if Robin is at a certain price, I'll be able to get that number. Like the spread width is 5, right? I want to sell them at 450 because I don't want to wait another year for another 50 cents. So if I can get 450 on those options, then yes, I will be selling those because I can make more money by just having the money in cash. But if they're giving me like $4 or 420 or 430, then it's I mean, those are $20 strikes. I think by 2026, Robin is well above 20. So if I just wait 5-6 months, I should be able to get the majority of those spreads in terms of the width of the spread. But I just have to be patient and let theta decay do its thing. So if I can get 450 out of $5, I will be selling them. If I can't, then I'm just going to hold on to them and we'll wait from there. But the 2025 options, the plan is to sell all of them, hopefully for the entire value, if not for slightly below the entire value, and then just hold on to the cash. Amit, how much grab do you want? I want 10,000 shares. That's the idea. I want to build out 10,000 shares of the position and then just be locked and loaded for the next 2 years. So those are the ideas for 2025. We should all buy the apartment 9 share for the meetup with Amit. Okay, so a couple updates on the meetup. Number one, New York is definitely going to be the January target, and February target is likely going to be the Bay Area. February is going to be the Bay Area. Why? Because my kids have a debate tournament in the Bay Area in February. So it coincides perfectly with the middle of February. I can go to that debate tournament and I can come a week early or at least a couple of days early to do the meetup. So February, if you're in the Bay, try to keep, I can give you guys the exact date right now. Don't hold me to this, but tentatively try to keep February, the 14th, which is Valentine's Day, to like the 17th. That's the weekend. So I'll probably be there a couple of days earlier. So maybe February 10th to the 12th. Those are the days you want to keep open. So that's second week of February, Bay Area. You want to keep up. Not my actual kids, dude. The kids I coach for debate. Goodness gracious. I don't have kids, bro. Not that I know of. I don't think I have any kids. The kids I coach for debate. They're going to be at a big tournament in California. And they just texted me last night. They're like, Coach Mick, can you come to this tournament? And I was like, wait a second. I want to do meetups anyway. And I've been only coaching them virtually. I want to like actually meet them in person and coach them at a real tournament. So I was like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. I can come early in February. I can do a meetup with everyone, and then I can coach you guys at the tournament. So Bay Area, February. That's what it's looking like. That's what it's looking like. What city in Bay Area? Probably that Berkeley area, around that Berkeley area. That's going to be, is that the Bay Area? Is Berkeley? Berkeley's part of the Bay Area, right? Am I wrong on that? It's near Palo. It's kind of near Palo. It's 30 minutes from Palo Alto, near Stanford. That area. That's Stanford, Palo Alto, Berkeley area. That's what I'm thinking. Not Oakland or like San Francisco, but like that's the area that we're looking at. So if you're there, I'll give you guys more details later, but that is what we're thinking about. Now, I want to go to this macro point. So Dan Ives said his consumer checks show that people are upgrading their phones. They're buying phones. Take a look at what Visa put out today. Visa put out some really good analysis around holiday shopping, and it's up 5% from last year. So this is some of the highlights they had. Out of total holiday retail spend in the US, 77% of total payment volume was in-store versus 23% online, showing the in-store experience remains important for the consumer. Total retail spend in stores grew at 4.1% versus 1.6% last year, which is incredible. That's amazing growth. Online retail shopping increased by 7.1%. Electronics sector increased to 4.2% versus 2.8% last year. Clothing and accessories were up 5% versus 2.4% last year. And global spending across the globe, holiday shoppers demonstrated positive activity. Brazil saw a 12.2% increase year over year. South Africa was up 7%. The UK joined with up 2.3%. And Australia saw a 7.4% increase in overall spend. Visa, again, a global company, they have trillions and trillions of dollars that run through their system. They're saying that people spent money in Q4, which is amazing because we need Q4 earnings to be good and you need people to spend. That is not the best for inflation because a lot of people are spending, and so that's going to be tricky. But the fact that our people are spending are definitely good for the broader market and definitely good for Q4 earnings as well. So yeah, Bay Area, Berkeley, Palo Alto, that area will have more details. I'll probably show up a week early and I'll probably go to like the Stanford area to meet some of you guys. I'll go to the Berkeley area. Maybe we'll travel around, but that second week of February, that's the week you want to keep free if you're local to that area. And we'll plan some meetups in February for California. All right, folks, let's get one of our favorite analysts on the show. He's better than all the other semiconductor analysts on CNBC, and he chooses to do my show instead of their show. Jose, what's up? Thanks for being here.
What's going on? Good morning. And I mean, this is the best show ever, right?
This is the best show ever because we got guests like you that joined the show. Jose, I want to get started with, how was Vegas?
It was fun. We didn't win money, but it was fun. I usually go with my wife, my friends. We party a lot. We detox from the normal life and just have fun.
People wanted you on Friday and they were like, hey, is Jose on? I'm like, no, he's at Vegas. He's partying it up. So did you take the kid as well, or you were just with the wife?
No, we live in with my parents. So we go for we make a short trip. And we came back yesterday after we try to party so much in 2 days to make up for what we normally would do.
I think you deserve it, dude. It's been a hell of a year. You've been working your ass off, having fun with Vegas. I haven't been there in a year, so I got to make the Vegas trip hopefully next year as well. All right, we got to get started, Jose, with Micron. We haven't talked about their earnings, but not the best earnings in terms of guidance. Do you think this 20% dip is buyable, and do you think the trajectory of Micron is still intact?
Yeah, so I definitely think it's buyable. I think the memory market is usually a market in the semiconductor space I normally don't invest in. The reason being is the memory market is a mix, heavily cyclical, because it's usually used in a lot of consumer products. So if you kind of get a slowdown in consumer spending, you're going to see a slowdown in memory needs. So therefore, Micron gets it. It's also usually very commoditized. It's very heavy pricing war, as even though there's only 3 players there, the rate of innovation in memory is not as fast, not because of the memory player's fault, but kind of like these consumer products don't need to evolve their technology as fast in forms of the memory space. But recently, because of AI accelerators, the rate of innovation in memory is increasing dramatically. This is creating something that's called HBM, and all these big players are focusing on HBM3, HBM3E, and the upcoming HBM4. Now, this rate of innovation is increasing the moat of, hey, you can't just be standing still in the memory market and still be making money. Now you have to be an innovating beast. And there's really only 2 players in this HBM market right now. That is, number 1 is SK Hynix, number 2 is Micron, and Micron is doing really well. So I think AI accelerators still need more HBM. The rate of innovation is speeding up. NVIDIA's teaming up with Micron to get more supply. So I think, well, maybe everything else is weak. That's what Micron mentioned. Everything except AI is weak in forms of consumer goods, and that's what might be scaring a lot of people off. I think Micron in a quarter or 2 will have kind of that Broadcom moment where everybody says, who cares about the rest of the market, because the AI market is going to be driving it a nice amount. And that's what we saw with Broadcom this past quarter, where historically we knew that the AI race was coming for Broadcom, but they dealt with a lot of other products that were weak. But this time it seems like the market was like, you know what, who cares? AI is going to be a big thing for you, Broadcom. And I think in the upcoming quarters, we're going to see it for Micron as well.
Okay, so that's very interesting. You think there is a chance that Broadcom's, you called it the Broadcom moment, that could happen to Micron. And Broadcom kind of had that moment because Hock Tan showed the sort of exponential growth that they could have in AI revenues over the next 3 years. You think Micron will have that moment based on what? Based on upgrade cycles for consumer electronics or based on data center revenue?
I think based on the rate of innovation needed for HBM. So right now, HBM3 is the main product. But with upcoming products, it's going to move on to HBM4. And to create HBM, you're kind of using your regular memory inventory, but it has lower yields. So that helps keep the supply at bay. And with heavy demand, I think it's going to help, at least in the next few quarters, help Micron have really, really nice margins in general, which can definitely boost the stock price. But again, I'm not looking for maybe like a 2-3 week return. I think as a long-term investor, Micron definitely has a good play.
Rango says right here, what do you think about architectures without HBM?
I mean, there's definitely a few players out there that use it, but not really much known. I mean, even Intel, who's a very small player in the AI accelerator market, is using HBM. Amazon with their AI accelerators, HBM. MI300, HBM. NVIDIA's Blackwell, Rubin, HBM. AMD's MI300, HBM. Google's TPUs are using HBM. I don't think any architecture in the AI accelerator space that is known that is not using HBM from what I can recall.
Got it. And overall, that should be a tailwind for Micron over the next 3 years, essentially, is your point.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And as all tech players are developing their AI chips, they're gonna continue to need that innovation from Micron and SK Hynix.
Right. AMD up 5%. Do you think 115, the bottom, was put in for AMD?
I think so. I mean, AMD, I've talked about it here. It's not the next NVIDIA. I would never say AMD is the next NVIDIA. Today, there was an amazing release by one of the top semiconductor analysts out there. And he has a big firm that goes in depth. And he did kind of a comparison of NVIDIA versus AMD's core products right now. There's no competition for NVIDIA right now. But again, just because there's no competition for NVIDIA doesn't mean that AMD can't also benefit from this AI space. And I think AMD at these values is still pretty attractive.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does feel like it got the brunt of the pain that it deserved, or maybe it didn't deserve. And so now it's just a question of, are they going to rise with the rest of the semiconductor market, which today, at least we're seeing, if you look at the left-hand side of the screen, all these semis are green. Any updated thoughts on Intel at all?
I mean, with the new CEO, with the new co-CEOs, not even one CEO, I think I'd rather wait to see what the news, when they get a new CEO, who it is, before giving any more thoughts. But right now, it's kind of in limbo, in my opinion.
TSM up 3%. Do you think this is just the market bringing semis back to normal, or is there a catalyst for this?
I mean, I don't know if there's any macro event that happened these past few days that might have maybe mentioned consumers' goods are still consumer spending is still good. If so, that could be a reason. Overall, it might just be the excitement of the semiconductor space.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing that obviously right here with NVIDIA back to 136. So we bottomed at 126 after the J. Powell presser sell-off on Friday. You were probably getting drunk in Vegas and pre-market, so you don't remember this. But is NVIDIA just the most emotional stock out there in regards to the semiconductors?
I think so. Even for me, I study NVIDIA I don't even say NVIDIA. I kind of want to understand the AI market, and it's evolving at such a rapid pace that I kind of look at daily news to see where we're going with the AI technology. And even sometimes I want to say, I'm not going to lie, I sometimes have fear. What is it? Fear, doubt, and uncertainties. Even someone who am completely bullish in this stock. So I can't imagine someone who doesn't look at this stock and understand kind of like their moat and their strength, how volatile it could be for those players. And sometimes those players have big wallets. So definitely one that can be very volatile with this AI evolving at such a rapid pace.
Yeah, and as you can see right here, this was just posted. NVIDIA just got $4 million of premium on some out-of-the-money calls. I mean, the 150 strike for next year. I mean, there's a lot of people still betting that NVIDIA is going to do its thing. Nancy Pelosi did buy in-the-money call options last year around this time, and those are up a lot. So,
I mean, NVIDIA is so volatile that if you tell me in the next 2 weeks, NVIDIA could either hit 150 or 115, I would say, yeah, that's probably true. I wouldn't be surprised if either of those happen for NVIDIA in the next 2 weeks. But in the long term, still very much bullish in this company.
We got some quick breaking news right here on NVIDIA as well. CEO Jensen Huang is the beneficiary of a series of tax dodges that will enable him to pass on much of his fortune tax-free. According to the securities and tax filings reviewed by the New York Times, the savings for his family are on pace to be roughly $8 billion. It
That's
likely
wild.
ranks among the largest tax dodges in the United States.
That is pretty impressive. I mean,
that's bullish, baby. If you know how to avoid $8 billion legally, you're probably a smart guy, bro. I mean, shit.
Yeah. And back to NVIDIA, I mean, like, I feel like every other day we get something about a heating issue or an error issue or something. And I feel with an innovative company in the semiconductor space, these are things that normally happen. I mean, even from my engineering experience, whenever we would create a new product, design a new product, things broke, things weren't fixed. But those were during kind of like the design phase, before even doing any crazy production or ramps, or things happened during that we could fix. So I think a lot of this used to happen for NVIDIA back then, but just because everybody's so scared, not scarce, everybody's so invested in this company, any little mistakes that normally happens creates like breaking news and creates more fear for the stock. So I think, unfortunately, that's the biggest thing right now, that those that don't know maybe the typical engineering design phase, and any small error creates kind of more fear. It's usually nothing burgers.
All right, Jose, I want to give you some rapid fire, then we'll get you out of here. Before we do that, everyone, please make sure to subscribe to What the Chip Happened, Jose's newsletter right here. He's got over 1,000 subscribers. I think he started this last week, so pretty incredible.
Yeah,
growth.
so today coming out with a new one there, a nice kind of quick release of all the semiconductor news, or the top semiconductor news happening on a daily basis.
All right, there you go. WhatTheChipHappened.com. I steal all his analysis to sound smart on the semis, but that's you can do the same if you subscribe to What the Chip Happened. All right, some rapid fire. ASML, are you excited about them as NVIDIA continues to keep scaling?
ASML, I'm very bullish in the equipment space. Maybe ASML, I'm not that bullish. I'm not bearish on it. I like other semiconductor equipment players like Lam Research and the smaller ones instead.
SMCI, is it still a no-touch zone, or do you want to take a risk?
For me, it's no touch zone, but just for my overall investment style.
Okay. AMAT, Applied Materials. Any thoughts on that one?
One of the I would normally pick with it, but this one tends to get a lot of kind of regulation fights with the United States about sending certain things to countries that are not supposed to. We see that a lot with the semiconductor space. I don't know why. I just have a gut feeling that I should not be in Applied Materials. So it's just because of that gut feeling. I mean, there's plenty of other semiconductor equipment players. One of my favorites within that market cap is Lam Research. I prefer Lam Research instead.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, I think, in the chat also that went long Lam Research a couple months ago when you were on the show about it. So Lam is one of the ones people enjoy a little bit more. Last one for you, Marvell. Any updated thoughts on this one, and are you bullish for their long-term trajectory as well?
Yep. So Marvell, I'm bullish in the short term. I mean, the stock has run up a nice amount with Broadcom, right? This is a company that makes ASIC solutions for all the big tech players. I believe Amazon's one of their biggest customer. Amazon is developing a lot of AI chips and going to get a lot of AI chips. So bullish for Marvell in long term. Short term, I believe is going to be volatile, as it did get a lot of run up with its own earnings and Broadcom earnings.
If I was Marvell's CEO, on our earnings calls, I would have video, and I would dress up like Spider-Man. And I would show up to. I like, dude, your name is Marvell. How do you not dress up as Spider-Man and do the earnings call? And like, this is why I'm not the CEO of a public company, because I would do something like this.
I mean, stuff like that might run the stock price up, though.
Well, Spider-Man as CEO, not bad. Last question for you, Dell. Do you think it's a buy here at 120?
I mean, again, just the overall server makers is not a space I would invest in, just because the moat is not high. Obviously, they can benefit from AI servers, and they can benefit from kind of the SMCI drama, because sometimes it does create kind of like even a small hurdle for customers themselves. So I can see the bullish case. Personally, not one I would invest in, though, because of I just don't go with the hardware itself.
Yeah, you're more into the actual semiconductor plays, NVIDIA, AMD, etc.
Definitely.
All right, Jose, thank you. Go get some recovery after Vegas, because you probably got a sleep it off a little bit. But there's Jose's Twitter. You guys can check him out there. whatthechipHappened.com newsletter. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Appreciate it so much. And thank you to everybody else.
All right, Jose. See you later.
Bye.
That wasn't a bad joke, guys. I thought of that on the spot. I mean, someone mentioned Marvell. I looked at Marvell. I was like, wait a second. If I was the CEO of Marvell, I would take advantage of this opportunity, dude. We'd have the Spider-Man theme music before earnings call. I would fight with the lawyers. I'd be like, guys, this is cool. Like, some kid's gonna see this earnings call and he's gonna buy the stock and he'd be like, fucking Spider-Man's the CEO. Like, this would be cool. I would do it. This is why I'm not the CEO. If I was, I would do it. I would and do it. You always ruin it by calling out your own joke. That's true. I kind of always do ruin it when I do that. All right. So entire macro's getting a little hit. Hood's down 3%. Apple slightly down. Palantir's down 2.8%. It's not that crazy. S&P is barely down right here. No, S&P is actually down. We're down about 1/3%, but we're much higher than 577, which was the low on Friday. Qs are getting hit as well because tech is down. Well, Qs are not really. I mean, they're down 0.06%. So the tech is holding up. The broader S&P is falling. That goes back to that breadth conversation we were having about the other 493 companies in the S&P 500 that really aren't performing like the Mag 7. So it makes sense that the S&P is down more than Qs. Qs are about to go green right here. But in general, kind of boring. I mean, it's 10:30. We had a little bit of the 10:30 slam already. We're not having a massive rally today. Probably wouldn't on December 23rd. After Christmas, I think that's when the markets will see if they want to go higher. But nothing too up or too down. No crazy names that are moving outside of Lunar that got a new contract. But outside of that, and now Lunar's down. And Lunar's up 3%. It was up 18%. So Lunar came back to earth and is acting normal as well. AMD is one of the winners today, up about 5%. So AMD getting some money getting rotated into them. But outside of that, everything else is pretty simple. Amid is Thanos wiping out half the audience with his jokes. Look, I'm just saying, I would wear the Spider-Man outfit. I would do it. I would do it. I would if I was Sundar Pichai and they asked me about competitors like Perplexity, I would be like, hey, I'm perplexed that you think that Perplexity could mess with Big Daddy Google. That's what I would say on the earnings call. And that would get these analysts to stop worrying about LLM commoditizing Google search. They're like, no, like I would do it. I would have the Alex Karp energy on earnings calls. By the way, I think Karp's one of the only guys, quite frankly, that can get away with saying what he says on earnings calls because he says them so intellectually and he says them in a way that makes you think. And, he'll have little jokes here and there, but like he's one of the only CEOs that can actually get away with saying it in a way that doesn't feel cringe, but also feels like motivational. Not a lot of CEOs do it. Most CEOs are shivering during the earnings call because they know if they say one bad thing, the SEC or the lawyers or whatever. So you got to have guts to do it. But if you can do it, it can be some good entertainment and people might actually buy the stock. Let's listen to Jefferies analysts around interest rates. So this is one of the analysts from Jefferies I actually really like in terms of listening to what he has to say. Here's what he thinks is going to happen in terms of interest rates and when we get to the neutral rate. So let's get his perspective, then we'll keep going from there. Real quick, fear and greed. Let's refresh this right here. I think we are at still fear. We're still at fear. We're just above extreme fear. So markets are still believing that this dip could be bought as, we're not in that neutral or greed setting yet for equities.
It's in all of this. Let's bring in Jefferies chief market strategist, David Zervos. What do you think the takeaway is from the market reaction to the Fed and whether uncertainty is going to reign here?
Sarah, I think you guys hit on a lot of the important points, and uncertainty is higher. We have a new president coming in. We've got a lot of new policies. People are debating tariffs, immigration, deregulation, energy policies, lots of different things to put in the pot and figure out for 2025. And we also know that historically, this Fed has not been, at least the Powell Fed has not been that cooperative with the Trump administration. And I think we saw a little bit of jitter that might be happening frequently in the beginning of 2025 and into the end of it as well, where the Fed and the administration may not be always on an alignment path. And the market kind of got a little messy on that. I don't expect it to be like 2018. I don't think it's going to be a real fight, but I think the market doesn't like to see that, and they kind of got shades of it. And that was a bit of what happened on Wednesday. It's nice to see the PCE data come out the way it did. I was very happy with that. And I think that's really the story, is we're going to start to see much more disinflation disinflationary data in 2025, and then the debate will be over, and the Fed will be cutting and possibly cutting far more than 2 times.
So then, David, you do not agree with Torsten Sloke of Apollo, as Sarah was just referencing, among other things, suggesting that the 10-year will move above 5%, that there's a 40% chance of that happening, just as he says 40% chance the Fed's actually going to hike rates next year. Agree? Disagree?
I disagree. I love those 30, 40% numbers because you're never really wrong. If you say 30 or 40, you're like, well, if it happens, I called it. If I didn't, I said it wasn't a sort of a likely thing or above.
Forget the probability, but the idea, the idea that you could have rates moving higher that would be uncomfortable for the market. Let's start there.
I think, look, I think there's a much lower probability of that, Scott. I think it's it can always happen. You never rule anything out, but to me, it's like a 10 delta, maybe even single digit delta story. I think the real story is one that we should focus on: the deregulation and the smaller government. People are over-focused on tariffs. They're over-focused on immigration. They're getting very hot and bothered by inflationary problems that I think are really going away and have gone away in a big way. I really thought Jay, talked in the big picture about inflation in a very positive way, that they've come so far over this last 2.5 years since we peaked at over 9% in the CPI. We should focus on the good news and what happened as they fought back that incredibly high shock on inflation. And I think that's going to be the story for 2025.
But they haven't gone away.
Led by dereg. What's that?
They haven't gone away, David. They've sort of, the inflation pressures, they've come down. Yes, it's great progress to go from 9% to above 2%, but the Fed's target is 2%, and we're not there.
Yeah, well, we're a lot closer than when we were at 9, sure. That's for sure. And I think we've had one of the fastest disinflations in post-World War II history, Sarah. This is 2.5 years, and we've come down so far. So look, the thing that I'll always kind of push back on those that want to get hot and bothered about inflation is that we never saw long-term inflation expectations, the 5-year, or any of the survey data, break significantly to the upside. Even when inflation was at 9, we saw 5-year break evens at 2.5. They've been 2 to 2.5, basically lockstep for four years now, if not more. And the Fed has really, I think, won that battle. They anchored inflation expectations. We may have a little more work to do. We may get a shock. Oil may go up for a little while, may come down. We'll see what happens. There's always the vagaries of market data. But I think the trajectory is very much one of disinflation back toward 2, possibly even lower. And I'm just optimistic on the deregulation story. I think that was the biggest part of the Trump administration's moves in 2017, 18, and 19. It dominated tariffs. It dominated the fiscal largesse stories that everybody was worried about. And we had very little inflation in those first 3 years of Trump. And I think we're going back to something like that.
I think that is very possible. I think that is very, very possible. The deregulation, I think, cannot be, by the way, AMD up 5.5%, so not bad on AMD. I think the deregulation piece cannot be ignored from Trump. I mean, when you open up the floodgates to let businesses just do what they want to do and start innovating, you're going to get a lot of companies that are going to try a lot of different things. And some of the best companies are going to use that deregulation to execute. And we've seen it with Robinhood. You start deregulating the crypto space, Robinhood can list more tokens. Robinhood can make more money. They can have new offerings. Like, there's just so many different examples of things that can open up, particularly in the financial space, around M&A and regulations of underwriting IPOs, different offerings they can do of securities. So I think the deregulation piece is going to be effective. S&P recovering a little bit as well at 589.97 right here. But the question is going to be, does it increase inflation? And when you have more deregulation, you have more spending. That could be inflationary, and tariffs could be more inflationary. And that's another reason why I'm kind of waiting for the first 2 months of 2025 before I actually start buying stocks, because I want to see what the market interprets the first 2 months of Trump policies like. I also want to know if we're in just like chaotic Trump 2.0 of an administration, right? Because I remember the first 60 days in 2017, the headlines every day were crazy. There was so much stuff happening. It was like it was just chaos. I think that might not happen this time. I think it's gonna be a little different. I think the country overwhelmingly voted for him. I think he has a lot of new people, which we should talk about because I didn't get to talk about this subject. Let's transition to this. He has a lot of new people that he's bringing on to help him, whereas in 2017 he had a lot of, like, honestly, people that were politicians, special interests, etc. And so maybe it's not as crazy in terms of the headlines and media coverage. Maybe he's just actually going to be able to execute, get some policies through, get the tax cuts extended, et cetera. And that could be pretty bullish. But it'll take, I think, the first 60 to 90 days to kind of see how the market is going to interpret the Trump administration. And so we're going to see if that happens. Amid, what happened to Boston? Boston will still be on the list for the 2025 meetups. It's just not going to happen in January or February, because New York makes more sense for January, February. I'm going to California, so the Bay Area will do that. Maybe we'll even do LA in February. Maybe I go another week earlier. I don't know. We'll see for February, but we'll definitely have Boston either in March, April, maybe in the summer. But Boston's easy for me to go to, so Boston will definitely be on the list, and we will make sure we do that one as well. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Here's what Trump posted last night on Twitter. He's bringing a lot of people onto David Sachs's team. I am pleased to announce the brilliant team that will be working in conjunction with our White House AI and crypto czar, David Sachs. Together, we will unleash scientific breakthroughs, ensure America's technological dominance, and usher in a golden age of American innovation. So you got Michael Kratsios, who's going to be the new director of the White House Office of Science and Tech. He served under the Secretary of Defense for Research and Engineering, distinguished fellow at Stanford. You got Dr. Lynn Parker, who's going to be the executive director of Presidential Councils for Advisors of Science and Tech, computer science from MIT. And then you got a lot of other people here. This one was the name that was really interesting to me, Sriram Krishnan. For those that don't know this guy, this was a ex-VC at Andreessen Horowitz. So you've got a bunch of different people from places, including David Sachs, who runs his own VC fund, that are starting to pick up momentum in the Trump administration and are getting some real positions of power to potentially talk, or at least get Congress to understand what's happening in the context of AI regulation, crypto regulation, and how that affects broader policies. Here's another guy that got nominated by Trump yesterday, Scott Cooper, who is another VC at Andreessen Horowitz. Andreessen Horowitz, for those that don't know, one of the largest venture capital firms in the world. They are explicitly investing I think tens of billions of dollars. They've invested close to 50 billion, I think, over the past 10 years into American dynamism, aka the next Palantir, the next Anduril. And that's one of their biggest themes for 2025, to find those defense tech companies. So you got VCs like Scott, Sriram, and David Sachs that are now going to be working in that AI crypto czar office to influence public policy and regulations around the best way to think about the United States' approach to artificial intelligence and cryptocurrencies, that are former venture capitalists. What is a venture capitalist? A venture capitalist is someone who invests money in an idea, hoping that idea can return money at the earliest of stages. And more importantly, those VCs, or these people that are former VCs that are now coming into the White House, they care about small companies. They actually care less about Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and Meta. They care more about the competitors to Facebook and Amazon that are in their early stages, that are seed stage companies that one day might become trillion-dollar companies. So to have those people that are actually guiding public policy, I do think is kind of bullish. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. And I think that's hopefully going to be beneficial long-term for AI regulation in the United States. But we're going to see, how the Trump administration, how the market interprets it for the Trump administration. Hey, Amit, did you talk about PayPal and Honey? Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal. That's my take on PayPal and Honey. Chris, I think you disagree on this. I really don't think this is a big deal at all. Call me if you can. All right, let's get Chris's perspective. I saw the headline. Maybe Chris can give us some more insight on this. I personally don't think PayPal is going to be in trouble, but let's get Chris's take and see what he thinks as well.
Reached Chris Patel.
Let me call him again. Hey, Amit, did you talk about Hood yet? Yes, we talked about Hood. We'll talk a little bit more about it at the end of the show, but we talked about their new gold subscribers additions today. Chris, what's up? Good morning.
Yeah, man. I like I said, I did some quick research last night about this whole thing. Like, I saw the video that that poor the guy that was with that exposing thing that he put up. Now here's my thesis on this, okay? And believe it or not, this morning I put in some buy orders for some puts for March and for June. And let me explain why I think this is a kind of, I won't say it's like the biggest, oh my God, like this is a fraud, PayPal is going to go to zero moment, but there are some huge, huge issues and red flags that this brings up. And then
Okay, let's call him again. His either phone died. That wasn't me. My phone's actually at 100%. You guys should be proud of me. I charged it last night. Let's see. If Chris is buying puts, he actually thinks this is bad. I disagree, dude. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but let's get his take on it. Something might have happened with his phone. Let me text him. He'll probably call back in a bit. I mean, is anyone else really wanting to buy puts on PayPal because of honey, dude? I'm curious to get Chris's take, but I don't know, dude. I did not see enough information to get upset about that. Let's call him one more time. See if he picks up. I sold PayPal this morning and bought more D-Wave. ROI is important. Aliens got him. The aliens have been acting aggressive last week. Yeah, Matt says not a big deal at all. Definitely not for their puts. Yeah, I think his phone died. His phone had to have died. I think it's bad headlines. I don't think it's a reason they should like get hit back into the 70s or 60s. Chris, you there?
You've reached Chris Patel.
Okay, Chris is not there. I guess he decided not to short it anymore. He'll probably call back in a little bit and we'll get his take. But yeah, in terms of PayPal, dude, I don't really think it's that big of a deal. I could be wrong. I'm curious to hear what Chris says here, but I don't know. I mean, I think the market would have a bigger impact today, down 1%. I think the market's kind of like, we don't care. And maybe the full effects of that honey scandal haven't really played out, but at least short-term reaction, the market is not really acting like PayPal's the biggest deal. Okay, Steve just called me 6 minutes ago, so let's get Steve on the show, given Chris is not picking up. The boss walked in. Yeah, Chris's boss found out he was on the show. They're like, hey, man, get back to work.
How are you?
Steve, good morning. How are you?
I am officially a blockhead.
All right, well, just letting you know, you're live on the market open, so you just told everyone you're a blockhead.
I figured I'm officially a blockhead.
Okay, why did you buy Square at $88?
I didn't have a choice. I guess I did have a choice, but I think it's going a lot higher.
Well, everyone has a choice. You were compelled to make this acquisition of Block. Why do you think it's going higher?
When I look at the forward estimates and I look at what it looks like crypto is going to do next year, and I just look at the business environment, I think Square is going to, or Block is going to go higher. I think they'll see more activity on Cash App. I think they're going to write more loans. I think there'll be more merchant activity. And I think that people are going to be surprised at the increased EPS that they generate.
Are you not at all worried about like waiting until Trump gets elected or Trump gets in office and then kind of making some buys? Or do you think the story's so good you just want to get in right now?
No, because if it goes down and I time it wrong, I'll buy more.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I can't time the markets. I've always said I can't time the markets. I have no idea if it's going down a month from now or going up in a month from now. I got no clue.
Matt says it has a 0.51 PEG ratio. He thinks is a screaming buy. That's definitely attractive for a company like Square. They are profitable. SBC is coming down, even if it's still aggressive, right? So I don't hate it either. You know, here's the thing. If Bitcoin tanks all the way to 80K, I think this one gets hit as well, but I guess that's a buy the dip if that happens.
Yeah, and once again, I can't control and I can't predict what is going to happen with Bitcoin or anything else. Start a position. If it goes down, I'll buy more. And the action premiums are pretty interesting. So,
okay, so you're buying Square. Anything else you're buying? Well, Nvidia's at 136. You had a nice dip that you bought last week, right?
Yeah. I may be buying some Schlumberger today. We'll see.
That's oil, right?
Oil field services, yeah.
Okay.
It is such an overlooked AI play right now. You wouldn't think that they're an AI company, but what they are delivering to their customers and what they're building with AI and machine learning is very interesting. It's going to help increase net dollar retention considerably, in my opinion.
I should have asked you if Schlumberger makes burgers to get a little good chuckle out of you, but I missed that joke. So that's
it's not a bad idea for lunch today.
It's Not a bad. What do you have for breakfast? Tell everyone the massive breakfast you had, because you always have a massive.
Well,
breakfast.
it was so freaking cold this morning. I had breakfast come to bed. I had them deliver it. I didn't feel like walking 2 blocks to go get it.
All right, so what'd you get? Pancakes, eggs, bacon, the whole.
No, just 3 eggs on a wrap, peppers and onions, salt, pepper, ketchup.
Dude, you love your breakfast. You love it.
Breakfast. See, breakfast is that food group that it doesn't matter what time it is. You can have pancakes or eggs at any time, and you can never go wrong.
Steve, you know what I started drinking?
This should be good.
Guess. What do you think I started drinking?
Knowing you, I have no idea.
I started drinking black coffee.
You're a psychopath.
I'm serious. I was on Friday. We were at this dinner. The waiter brought some black coffee with dessert. I drank black coffee. I liked it.
Hold on. Black coffee or espresso?
No, black coffee, no cream, no sugar, legit. Just, I like it. I got some from Dunkin' today. I got some from Denny's yesterday. I'm in this world. I'm an adult. I'm drinking it.
This is going to be interesting to see what you're like on coffee.
Well, I think that I need a little bit of caffeine in the morning. Definitely helps me get awake. I like that it's not filled with sugar like the caramel lattes that I'm used to. I really want to get off that.
Oh, those are disgusting. I don't know how you drink that.
Yes, I'm now even thinking of a caramel latte makes me just like cringe, knowing that like black coffee is actually, I don't know, it kind of tastes better and it's just like not all that sugar. But also, I don't think it's going to increase my energy that dramatically because I'm pretty energetic every day regardless. So
no, not your energy, but your focus.
Oh, it makes you focus more, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm off of it. After you get over the hump, you're fine. But yeah, I mean, I always put a little bit of cream in my coffee. I just thought that black coffee was a little too bitter, but I drink espresso black, or I used to drink espresso black.
I actually like the bitterness of it, dude. It's really weird. Okay. I don't know what happened overnight, but
you're an adult. You're graduating. I'm proud of you.
I am graduating. That's correct.
Welcome to the biggest drug on earth, coffee.
How do you feel about Palantir? We hit 82.91 today. We're at 78.95. Any thoughts on this one?
Palantir to 0.
Look, Steve, I don't know if we're going back to 50. And I think that's okay.
Yeah, I think it's okay too. I'm not okay with what the market has become. I don't like what the market has become.
Steve, you can't say that. You're calling for 7,000 on the S&P. You can't say you don't like this market. There's no way you can say
no, that. But that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I don't like what this market has become and what the premise of investing has become. That's what I don't like.
What do you mean? The premise of investing is to buy low, sell higher. That's what's happened with
Palantir. But it feels like it is just everybody is just speculating rather than investing now.
I agree with that. And things like Fartcoin getting to $1 billion is definitely scary. I agree with that.
I just don't like the amount of speculation out there that everybody is once again expecting 30, 40, 50% gains in a year. Otherwise, you're not doing well. It's just, when it gets to that level, it starts to worry me. There are some great opportunities out there, and they're not getting their justice. And look, Palantir is a phenomenal company. I think it is going to be much higher down the road than it is today. But they have pulled so much forward that the valuation doesn't make sense today. Can they grow into it? Absolutely. It's just wild how much it's run without anything really changing. Same with some other companies. Tesla, one of them.
Did you see the headline about SpaceX, Anduril, Palantir working together to bid for contracts?
Yes.
Do you think that's bullish for their government business, even if you think the stock's expensive?
Yeah, I think the government business is going to do well.
Yeah, I mean, look, I agree with you. Obviously, it's expensive, but when you have headlines like that, it's hard for
exactly, and that's the environment we're in, where headlines move everything. It's not just fundamentals. And I'm not saying it should just be fundamentals, but you have companies like Schlumberger that have incredible financials and are so undervalued, and they're not getting their time of day, and they're down 20% on the year in a bull market when you have a good chance oil production is going to increase next year and a good chance their revenue is going to grow. This is a company that's generating $4.8 billion in free cash flow, trading at less than 11 times earnings. In the first 9 months of this year, it's already bought back more than $1 billion worth of shares. It pays a 3% dividend, and nobody likes it for some reason. I don't know why. There's good opportunities out there that are being overlooked because everybody wants to just pile into certain names, which I get it because it feels like, why invest in anything but big tech?
Right.
And I think that that's a problem.
Well, so here's my question then. 2025, and we talked a little bit on it on Friday. Do you think winners just keep winning and big tech just gets the flows?
Yeah.
But do you think there's any level of, hey, small caps, it's time to wake up?
Oh, by the way, you were in New York last night?
Saturday.
So I'm in the office. I'm so fucking cold right now because they cleaned the windows. My window is open all weekend.
Dude, it was freezing.
And I have big fucking windows in my office and open all freaking weekend. I have a vest on, a sweatshirt on. I'm fucking dying there. And I like cold weather. My desk was an iceberg this morning.
Yeah, it is. People in the chat are agreeing as well. Dude, it was cold. I took my mom for we went on Broadway. We saw Lion King, but it was freezing, dude. It was really cold.
So back to your question. I think winners keep winning. I actually don't think small caps are attractive at all. I don't think that it's even worth it, even though people love them and think that they have a big opportunity in them. I'm not a small cap person. I would rather be in the stuff that I'm in with Meta, Alphabet, Amazon, and Apple. I think they keep winning. I think it's too hard to compete against these companies. And look, the Mag 7, I don't know exactly what the number is, but on the Compound and Friends, they were talking about how the Mag 7 is now bigger than the next 440 companies or something like that in the S&P.
That's wild.
Think about that for a sec.
Yeah, if the Mag 7 take a hit, the market's done. It's just that simple.
Forget it. And once again, that's dangerous because the market is so dependent on big tech now because of how big it's gotten. But it's only going to keep getting bigger. They're only going to expand earnings. And once this CapEx cycle is done, I think it's got 2 years left. You're going to see massive jump in earnings.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, as long as the earnings picture isn't crushed in 2025, I think big tech will hold up and then the market will. But if it doesn't,
there's no reason for it to be crushed in 2025. It's only going to get bigger.
I mean, look, I agree with you, but I don't want to see a headline that says Amazon spending less on CapEx. That's an easy way to crush the story.
Look, Amazon spent $69 billion in the trailing 12 months on CapEx. Okay. They just announced a month ago they're spending $10 billion on 2 new data centers. They're not stopping with the CapEx spend. They haven't spent less than, I think, $55 billion on CapEx in the past 4 years, something like that. So I'm not worried about them. And look, once they tail it down, they're only going to decrease it to like $40 billion or so, just to maintain everything, give upgrades. But think about it. They're spending so much money. Meta, Amazon, Alphabet, and Microsoft has spent $199 billion on CapEx in the trailing 12. And based on their earnings goals, it only looks like that's going to get bigger next year.
Let me read the stat for you I just pulled up. So the S&P 500 X Mag 7 profit margins, 9.3% as of third quarter. Mag 7, 23.5%.
Mm-hmm.
That is a 2.2x roundabout increase in profit margins from 7 companies compared to the other 493, which is, it's just hard not to be long the Mag 7 if you're going to invest in equities next year.
And once again, as much as I think that's a problem, I don't understand why people don't invest in the Mag 7 directly. And there used to be this mentality of, if you put into a 401k or a 403b every 2 weeks or whatever it is, that as long as you're in a target date fund or an S&P index or a total market fund, you're already getting a lot of exposure there. So invest in other things outside of it. My question is why? Why wouldn't you want to be invested in the greatest companies in the country? Like, they are the greatest companies in the country.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think they keep winning. I mean, look, if taxes go to 15%, who knows what they're going to, margins expand. Cost of capital comes down, margins are going to expand for some of them. Probably Microsoft and Apple, potentially.
Oil still below 70. That's great.
Listen, oil's the big one. And Saudi Arabia is bringing 300,000 barrels back online over the next 3 years. I just read the EIA's short-term energy outlook last night, and they're projecting world consumption and production increases through 2025. Their long-term outlook comes out in March, so I'm very interested to see that. But there's a very good chance that production outpaces consumption when you get a deregulated market.
That'd be really good for prices.
That would mean, and you look at Trump's first term, you had oil under $60 for the majority of his first term, and for a portion of it around $50. So if you get oil around $60, you're knocking off around 7% of the current price or so. So you're going to see margins increase. Lower oil is critical to lower inflation and lower prices because it means the cost of inputs for manufacturing, transportation costs, energy costs all go down. And that's bullish for the Mag 7 and the rest of the market.
All right, so last question for you, Steve. We're looking at a chart right here about the Santa Claus rally. Usually it starts right after Christmas and you go up on average by about 1%. Do you think we get a rally this year, end of the year?
I mean, we're up so much in the past 2 years. What are we up? 44% in the past 2 years? I don't even know if we...
60% past 2 years.
It's freaking crazy. Crazy. I don't know if we get a Santa Claus rally, but I think the markets are going to do another 20% next year.
Dude, if we compound another 20%, this would have been one of the greatest 3-year stretches in American history for stocks.
And quite honestly, this is why everybody should, and look, this is my own opinion, but I don't know why people don't take investing for their retirement more seriously and do whatever they can to try to max out their retirement accounts. It just never made sense to me.
Well, Roth IRAs just opened up for 2025, so people can start contributing now as well.
Yeah, and in addition to that, company-sponsored plans where you get a match. I see all this stuff online about don't just do. Oh, I shouldn't say that, but my opinion is if you can max out, because these are the types of cycles you're forcing yourself to buy into, and even if you get a retracement, you're getting the same companies at a better price, and over the long term, continuing to invest in the S&P 500 has been one of the greatest investments you can make.
Yeah, and for those that don't get a match by their employer, that's where Robinhood's 3% match on Roth IRAs. Like, there's so many innovative new products that are out there to help individual people that might not be employed still save for retirement, right? So I think everyone's got to take advantage of it. And it grows tax-free for the next freaking 30, 40 years, which is not bad.
Yeah, I mean, look, just go to an investment calculator and just put in whatever number you can afford and just put a 10% return. That's still under the average annual of the S&P, and look at it for 30 or 40 years, what it turns into by just investing in S&P index fund.
Steve, what is your company match on 401k contributions?
3%.
Some people in the chat are saying they get a 9% match.
My wife gets. Where's my wife get?
9% is wild, bro. That's a lot.
Yeah, my wife gets 7 or 8%, I think. And it's not even a match. It's just, I think it's 7 or 8% of her salary goes in without her putting in a dime.
And there's a cap on how much you can allocate per year to your 401k, right?
That's either 23.5 or 24. I'm not sure which it is.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, different companies do different things, but it's just one of those things when I had this conversation with somebody the other day who wasn't maxing out. I'm like, why aren't you maxing out if you can? And just don't try to be a hero in your brokerage accounts. Think about your retirement. Like, the way that I look at it is protection for myself, because if I screw up on my brokerage accounts and I blow them up somehow, I can always fall back on that and know that I've been putting into the S&P for 30, 40 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's my plan. So I'm setting up a solo. I already set it up with Schwab, a solo 401k, and I can contribute up to 70 grand a year. I'm probably going to max out at like 40 grand given my income, all that stuff. And so that 40 grand, I mean, the goal is not to be cute with that 40 grand. The goal is to put it into safe havens and just let it chill for the next 40 years.
You can even split it between the Qs and the S&P.
Well, that was my goal. I think Qs, S&P, some other emerging markets, ETFs I'm looking at, and that's it. And it just stays.
Yeah, I mean, look, I look at that money as safe money. I don't think that I don't have the ability to invest in individual stocks through our 401k plan. But even if we did, I wouldn't, because that's money. That's the oh shit money. That's the I need this for retirement money. Throw it in S&P. You're still going to catch the runs of Palantir and Nvidia and everything else. I mean, Nvidia is like 7 or 8% of the S&P.
Or we could just put that 40 grand into Palantir.
Yeah, you could have done that too. And look, you would have been up a lot more right now. But once again, if it didn't do what it did, that's the other thing. At least with S&P, you're getting the best companies in the country, the best stock market in the world. I went back and I looked at how much it's up from the investments I was making in 2020 when the world was going to shit. And it's crazy.
When did you start contributing to a 401k? Like 10 years ago? 15 years ago? Or were you a little late to contribute?
This one, I was probably a little late. This one probably 11 years ago.
That's still 11 years of compounding is magic, right? I mean, it is definitely something most people don't understand when it comes to compounding. Even when I found out about the concept of compounding, I was like, what? It's like...
Well, you got to think, you're getting the dividend every quarter that gets reinvested. If you're getting a company match, you're getting that at the same time every year. And when you're buying every month or every 2 weeks, whatever it's set up as, you're going to buy high, you're going to buy low, you're going to buy in the middle, but you're always going to be buying. So you're always going to catch the downturns. And you're always going to be putting in at good times as well as highs. But just like I say in all the VLO articles that I write, if you're a long-term investor, it's never a bad time because the market always makes new highs.
Yeah.
And that continues to be proven.
Yeah. And again, if you're someone like me who's ultra risk on in my brokerage account, it would make me sleep better at night knowing that I'm super safe in my retirement. I mean, also because it's on Schwab, I don't even want to log into that thing every day, dude. I don't know how you use it, but I'd be happy to just let that money stay there and not look at it until I'm 60 years old. And hopefully it's higher when I'm 60.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's one of those things where I think so much emphasis is put on investing in individual companies, trying to be a stock picker. Nothing wrong with being an S&P. And I think that a different mentality shift needs to occur. Not everybody's going to drive a Lamborghini. Not everybody's going to have a house on the beach. And people need to stop looking around. Like, I saw this video about trying to get to Roosevelt Field Mall the other day. I think I sent it to you this morning. And like, I don't get it. Like, I saw another video about just how consumer debt on Christmas doesn't get paid until May. I just think
really?
It's in my watched history on YouTube. I'll send it to you. But how the average person or the average family is spending X amount, it doesn't get paid until May. But I think we have a real spending problem in this country, and everybody's trying to keep up with the freaking Joneses. I don't know. It's pretty wild.
Well, the spending problem is what makes America the best consumer-oriented society, right? So it's of
course.
Good and bad
but at the same time, I'd love to see more people investing in their future than spending money frivolously.
Oh, 100%. People buying a Louis Vuitton shirt versus investing is dumb. It's always been stupid. So
now, if you can get your hands on a Birkin and you are buying it as an investment, I'm good with that because they sell for so much on the secondary market.
right.
But I mean, just buying a Louis Vuitton shirt to me is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have really big FU money to just spend thousands of dollars on clothes and not care. You know,
But is it even that, or are people just trying to make it look like they do?
it's 99% people trying to make it look like they are rich. You know,
Like I look at that stuff and it doesn't impress me one bit.
not at all. Not at
And
all.
I look at the way some of these people walk around. Like you're a walking billboard for these companies.
Dude, you know what was weird? You know, me and my mom were walking in New York on Saturday, and those guys that are selling the fake like Gucci purses and stuff on the street.
Yeah.
First of all, they have a permit to sell, right?
I mean, I don't know if they do or they don't. You're supposed to have a permit to sell.
I think they have to because I think the cops would clear them out immediately. So I'm pretty sure they have a permit. So it's funny that legally they are selling fake handbags of designer brands, and there were people stopping and actually buying it. And I was just like, I can't believe, like, either the people have no idea that it's fake, which, I mean, come on, or B, people are like, yeah, I want to buy a $50 Gucci handbag that costs $5,000 in real life to make it seem like I'm cool. And it's sad. It's really sad. But that's where people think their, you know, coolness comes from, I guess.
It's wild. Absolutely wild. I'm going to send it to you. I watched something that 60 Minutes did on Hermes and about the Birkin bag. It's actually pretty interesting. And I know that Armani and was it Dior maybe? Or it was either Dior or Chanel. The Italian government did an investigation into it, and it was costing between $55 and $90 for them to make a bag they were selling for like $2,500.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's the margins are. That's why LVMH is amazing. Right?
But the thing I watched on Hermes was interesting because they were showing the inside one of their factories, and everything's handmade. Every person that works there has to go through a 2-year training program and master the saddle stitch. And the same person works on the bag the entire time. And each bag takes roughly 20 to 30 hours to make by hand. And the craftsmanship and quality is insane. And I guess that's why they have such a limited amount of stuff on the market because of how long they take to make. And everything's made by hand, and why they go for more on the secondary market than what you can get them for retail at, if you can even get them. I mean, it seems like it's kind of the same thing as Rolex, where multi-year wait list if you can even get on the wait list.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, I've just never been interested in any of that stuff, but there is a big market for it.
From an investment standpoint, it's interesting.
100%. 100% agreed. Real quick stat for you, Steve. Apple, if it gets to 264, it's going to be at 4 trillion.
Love it. Keep going. Let's go.
I love how you love Apple just going up for the hell of it, but if Palantir is going up for the hell of it, you're like, this is ridiculous. This makes no sense.
There's a big difference. Apple generates $100 billion in profit.
I know, but you just said, love it. Let's keep going higher. That sounds kind of degenerate to me, quite honestly.
No, it's not degenerate because they keep buying back a ridiculous amount of stock. I think they're going to expand earnings and revenue. Look, they have the biggest install base. It's probably the greatest consumer company there is.
No, Steve, I get it. Very bullish, but my point is, I remember when Palantir was $50, and you were like, "Hey, are you going to end the stream?" And I'm like, "No, I'm waiting for 51." And you started laughing. You were like, "Are you just going up $1? That's adding $2 billion in market cap. That doesn't just happen, right? You have to work for it." And now you're like, "Yeah, let's just keep going up, baby, on Apple. Let's go to 264." So it's kind of the same mentality.
Yeah, but to me, it's a different scenario. Apple has earned the right to go up.
Apple has earned the right to irrationally go up. That's your argument.
And it's the holiday season, probably going to blow earnings out of the water in January when they report. I think they have a lot of potential to go higher.
I mean, I think they do too. It's just hilarious that you love, campaigning for Apple, but not for Palantir. That's all. That's my point.
But here's the thing: I bought 2 iPad Airs for people for Christmas.
Trust me, they're not going to use those iPad Airs.
I showed you the picture. I bought my nephew one. I bought my dad one. The 13-inch iPad Airs. Think about this for a sec, okay? You have a calculator out or Excel out or something. I'm not going to tell you the number, but I'm sure you can do it in your head because you're pretty smart.
Yeah, I'm a smart guy.
If Apple does $100 billion in profit, divide that by 52 weeks. Tell me how much profit they make a week.
It's like a little bit under $2 billion, like 1.9 billion.
Yeah, exactly. So you're telling me the company that's doing almost $2 billion a week in profit shouldn't go up?
No, it should, but the thing is already at a $3.85 trillion market. It's at a 41 PE and they're not growing. That's all I'm saying, Steve. No one's denying.
They're growing earnings. They're not growing revenue. They're growing earnings.
It's a very small. It's not Steve. It's not crazy growth. It's not crazy. It's like maybe 3 or 4%. Like we're not. I'm just saying. I agree. It'll keep going up. I don't think it will stop. It's just. I love your excitement on Apple versus Palantir.
When I look at how Walmart and Costco are valued, I would much rather own Apple than the 2 of those. That's my argument. That's my argument. You want to put these valuations on Walmart and Home Depot, the same valuation should be put on Apple, if not higher. And that's the type of market that we're in, where these companies, what's Costco's freaking valuation on earnings? 40-something?
No, it's at 57 PE.
57? Crazy talk, Costco. So people are willing to pay 57 times earnings for Costco, but they're not willing to pay 40 times earnings for Apple. Get out of here.
That's a good point. You have a point there. I can't argue that. I cannot argue that.
Get out of here. It's just insane when you know that they continuously have catalysts.
All right, last question for you, Steve, and then we'll get you out of here. Tesla up 2.8%, 433. You like it at this price or not?
No.
Why?
Because nothing has changed in the business.
Well, FSD has become a lot better, and that's rolling out. I think that's a pretty big change.
Nothing has changed in the business. Maybe he gets clearance next year. Who knows? I think it's going to go a lot higher eventually. I just think that when you look at what's their market cap right now?
Tesla's market capitalization is 1.39 trillion.
All right, what's Meta's?
Meta, that's a good question. Meta is at
1.7?
1.5.
Okay, so they're basically the same size, give or take.
Yeah.
Okay. How much cash from operations do both of them generate?
I don't know, but I think Meta's is a lot higher, if I'm not wrong.
So, tell the audience, how much does each of them generate?
I don't know. I have to go find it out right now.
I'll find it for you.
Yeah, you.
I will stop pacing around my office and I will find it. Because that's what I was doing for the past 20 minutes.
You should have these on the top of your head. Well, Tesla, they have 30 billion in cash.
I think I know what it is off the top of my head, but I don't like giving bad numbers.
Yeah, I think I know what it is too, but I think I'm going to be wrong. I know Tesla's 30 billion in cash. I think Meta has like 70 billion in cash. They have a lot of cash.
Just think about this. Tesla generates 14.5 billion in cash from operations.
That's what I thought. Half of their cash on the balance sheet. Yep.
And they're doing like 4 billion in free cash flow.
Correct.
Give or take.
Correct.
Okay. Meta.
Let me guess. So you just said Tesla does 14. I'm going to guess Meta does 37.
That's cute. Try again.
45.
82.7 billion in cash from operations.
Oh boy, that's a lot.
And they spend 30 on CapEx, putting their free cash flow at 52 billion. So,
well, Meta does have better margins than Tesla. That makes sense, right?
So you tell me how Tesla is anywhere close to being what Meta is.
Well, hold on.
It doesn't make sense.
If we do some Wall Street bets type of analysis, Tesla has a way bigger TAM. Okay, the TAM.
Oh, Wall Street bets. Yeah, sure. Wall Street bets. Great.
If we look at the TAM of the company, Tesla's TAM is exponentially greater than Meta's TAM.
You can't even tell me that Meta's not fucking growing at a good rate, considering in 2020 they did 86 billion in revenue, 2021 118 billion, 2022, bad year, 116. But last year they did 135. And this year in the TTM, they've done 156.
Dude, I want to buy.
It's incredible.
I want to buy Meta. I want to buy Microsoft. I want to buy Amazon. I want to buy all these names next year, dude.
And they're
ridiculous.
And their margins are incredible, by the way.
Okay, but look, all this analysis makes sense. I don't know why that's a reason you're even bringing it up compared to Tesla. Like, what's your point versus Tesla?
I'm just saying that things can get irrational and overvalued, and for the market to give it a 1.3 trillion valuation versus Meta's 1.5, and the fundamentals are nowhere near Meta's, makes zero sense.
But so you think Tesla's ridiculously overvalued? Is what you're saying?
Yes.
And so what? You think 350 is a more appropriate range for it?
Under 3.
Under 3? Did you not see that Elon's best friend is the most powerful guy in the world? Is that not even
cool?
No, I think you're wrong on that. I think you're wrong on that, dude.
But that's why it's where it is. It's not because of the business of the fundamentals.
I mean, that's okay as long as the relationship doesn't get sour.
Listen, Meta has an 81.5% gross profit margin and a 35.5% profit margin. It is insane. It's insane.
I get it, but I don't know if under 3 is not coming, Steve. I don't.
I'm not saying it is coming out. You asked me what I think it should be at.
That's fair. I did ask you that. That's fair. By the way, guys, we got some breaking news. You can now redeem a monthly FSD subscription using your Tesla referral credits.
Yeah, that came out a couple hours ago.
I'm gonna do that after the market open. I've been missing FSD. I have 1,000 in credits. I'm gonna get $99 and do some FSD driving. There we go. That'll be awesome.
Here's the other thing about Meta, okay? They're expected to do 15% revenue growth next year and 13% in 2026. And they're going to grow earnings by 12% next year and 13% the following year. Tesla is expected to grow revenue next year by 16.7 and 17% in 2026. Roughly the same revenue growth.
Yeah, but Tesla's revenue is different.
So a dollar doesn't equal a dollar?
No. Tesla's revenue. Well,
you just said their revenue is different.
Well, hold on. You think Apple's dollars are way more valuable than Tesla's dollars. So let's just let's chill out there. Okay.
All I'm saying is a dollar equals a dollar. Does it not?
Tesla could be worth 30 trillion one day. Meta can't. Meta's not going to 30 trillion.
Hold on. TAM is different than revenue. And when you say that revenue is different, a dollar is a dollar.
Sure. I'm just saying the reason people are buying Tesla is because they don't care about the revenue. They care about the future revenue.
Of course. And that's why they've always done this. 100%. No question about it.
I mean, look, the easy answer is to buy both next year, which is probably what I'm going to be doing.
I don't hate that. And I'm not saying Tesla's going down. I think it's going to go higher. All I'm saying is it shouldn't be this high or Meta should be a lot higher. I'm just saying that being around the same valuation as Meta is crazy.
Okay, so last question, then I'll let you get back to work.
I love how you say last question.
Dude, I said last question like 5 times. You're like, this is what I do. I just find a way to keep talking. All right, so this is for the chat as well. And think about this before you answer. Don't immediately answer it. You have to buy 100 shares of one Mag 7 stock January 1st and hold it till December 31st, 2025. What's the name for those 100 shares at, let's call it prices today? Today's prices.
Yeah, given that time frame, it's probably Alphabet at this point.
I was going to say the same too. I was going to say Google.
But I don't know. It could be NVIDIA. Actually.
But you got it. No, but that's why I'm making it hard. Pick one. Everyone in the chat giving 2 choices. You have to pick one choice.
It's good. I mean, I think NVIDIA has the highest gains percentage-wise next year. Actually.
Oh, so you would pick NVIDIA. You'd pick NVIDIA.
I'd pick NVIDIA, yeah.
Look, I mean, Google's a safe one, but you're not wrong. NVIDIA, I think, is probably going to outperform a lot of the other ones.
Do I think Alphabet's the most undervalued? Yes. But I think if you're just going straight percentage gain, I think NVIDIA's got the most potential for gains next year because they're going to have everything is indicating they're going to have a crazy year. And you've had a lot of consolidation between 130 and 140.
Yeah, I got a lot of the chat agreeing NVIDIA. It's planning to hold for at least a year, Phil. That's the question. Holding for at least a year.
Oh, I think this is a competition you and I should do.
How would we do the competition?
I don't know. We could just buy one share or something.
Yeah, we should. Okay, we should each buy 5. We should each have 5 companies and put them head to head. You have your 5, I have my 5. We have like a little mini portfolio. They have to be different companies, and we buy one share of each of them.
So we do a draft. That's the only way we can do it. We roll to see who goes first, and you do a draft.
Yeah, and then my 5 versus your 5 end of year, we'll calculate the aggregate return, which one did better.
Yeah,
that'd be fun. That's not a bad idea.
Could do that. We could do that.
We could do that on the stock market award show. That could be a good segment.
We could definitely do that.
Yeah, the chat could participate as well. You're free, Steve. You're free from the 26th to the 31st, right? Or is there any days where you're literally not free at all? Like
yeah, I'm around.
Okay, because I'm thinking we do this on like the 28th or 29th, Saturday, Sunday. So I'll message you guys tonight.
Oh, over the weekend? Yeah, I'm definitely around.
I think that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, probably Saturday night, folks. We will do the stock market awards / draft this week.
It's got to be late, though. It's got to be like 9 or 10.
Oh, that's perfect. Late night. We'll do it.
Yeah, later on is better for me. I get my Seeking Alpha done, get my regular stuff done.
Are you gonna draft a certain company that starts with a P or no?
No.
What about a T?
No.
You're not gonna pick Palantir or Tesla?
You could take both of them. Have fun.
If you're gonna give me both, I'm gonna take both of them. I will absolutely take both of them, dude.
You could have both.
Yeah, in the words of Dan Ives, you're acting like Palantir's Tom Brady right here, and I'm betting on Brady. I'm betting on
Listen. The question is, are you betting on Brady at 40 or at 28?
Look, Brady won a championship at the end of his career. Betting on Brady whenever you bet on him is good.
I'm just saying.
It'll be fun.
I'm just saying. Greatest of all time, but what point in his career are you betting on that?
Well,
betting on him when he was a dynasty?
If I'm betting on him on the Buccaneers, I will do very well.
Yeah, he won once on the Buccaneers.
I mean, dude, like Brady never stopped winning his whole career. Like,
all I'm saying is, have fun.
Palantir 5 cents away from 80, folks. I will take Palantir and Tesla.
Dude, it's making a comeback, and I can't believe it. It doesn't make sense. Who is buying here? Like, who's buying?
Institutions.
And why are people not selling?
Because we're diamond handing, baby.
That's the crazy part. People are up so much money right now, and they're not selling. It's crazy.
Steve, I got a message from a guy who told his parents about my videos in 2023. They dumped their life savings at $8 in Palantir. And he messaged me over the weekend.
Good for them. That's diamond freaking hands.
But like this is what I'm saying. These are the type. When we say average people bought Palantir, average mom and pop people at $8 to basically $15 bought this stock, and that's why this is so exciting.
Nobody is taking money off the table, which is crazy.
No, that's wrong. There are definitely retail that I've seen plenty of people have told me in the chat they've been trimming, taking profits, but they're not selling their entire position. That's the difference.
Not the people taking money off the table is not outpacing the people coming in.
Correct. Exactly.
That's what I mean by it.
But look, the valuation is I get it, but doesn't it make you happy that regular people trusted in a great American company and they've 10x their net worth?
It makes me very happy that Palantir is doing this well as an American, because it is a critical company to our strategic safety. And I am very happy that Palantir is doing what it does. And I'm very happy at what they provide to the government. And I don't want them to stop.
Agreed. And look, I think people, especially if they're older and they want to secure profits, there's no problem with selling, taking profits. You earned it, yada, yada. But the fact that people believed when no one believed, and they still believe, ironically, that is why Palantir's at a premium, because no one's selling. Right? And
yeah, it's just one of those things. The market got it wrong. But think about the type of market we were in. The fact that people couldn't see this and they were buying other companies that had no forward momentum is crazy. I mean, Palantir at one point, they'll never get profitable. They're a black box. Everybody getting stuck on it's a black box. And you have people like you, people like me, and a lot of other people explaining how they're not a black box. They openly tell people, or they openly tell the street they work with the CIA. They can't get into what they do with the CIA. Sorry, they have a whole commercial business too, and everybody discounted it. I mean, think about that. It wasn't hard to get this right when the biggest bear case at the time was commercial won't overtake government.
Yep.
Like, that was the biggest bear case.
Yep, that was the big. That people were too afraid that the government business was too much, and now people are happy that the government business is a ton of.
Or they couldn't convert to commercial customers.
Right.
Well, Palantir blew that out of the water and kept blowing it out of the water, and people were in denial. Like, it was the easiest thing to get right was Palantir.
Yeah.
From something that was that low or that, I guess, new. It was the easiest thing to get right because the bear cases were so bad, and it went against everything the numbers were showing.
Okay, so last question.
You know we're gonna have 5 more left.
No, it's actually the last one, dude. I mean, like, you're able to talk, so I just keep talking to you. You know.
Yeah, I'm waiting for a meeting to start, so yes, I can.
Oh, perfect. All right. By the way, guys, let me put Steve's Twitter right here in the chat. Please make sure to follow him. He just put out a new article on Seeking Alpha. So please make sure to check that as well. Twitter is in the chat. Gut feeling. Do you think Palantir has a big correction next year? Or do you think we hold steady?
Say that again?
Does your gut think that we have a correction next year on Palantir, like a pretty aggressive one, or you think we hold at these levels?
I don't know what to think. I wouldn't be shocked if Palantir goes to 225 next year. I wouldn't be shocked if it goes to 50. I don't freaking know.
So I agree with you. I don't know either. But what does your gut reaction say? Will we go will we stay here and maybe go up, or will we take a really nice downturn? What do you think?
Just give me 1 sec. How's it going?
Someone just walked in. They're like, Mr. Priorillo, you are not?
No, I'm going over to the next office over.
Okay. Let's say your boss just walked in.
No. I would not have put you on mute if that was the case. No, somebody came in to do work on my office. So I went over to person's office next to me who's not here.
Dude, I feel like you're so high up at the company, no one can kick you out of a co-working space. Yeah, just be like, I'm busy, I'm on the phone, I'm closing deals. Anyway, Amit, yeah, so what I'm thinking about.
If it wasn't something I needed done, I would have asked them to come back. But something I needed done. All right, so what was your question?
Gut reaction, if you have to pick, Palantir goes massively down next year, or we hold these levels?
I'm not good at this stuff.
I'm just saying, does your gut say we're going back to 40, or does your gut just say we can hold 80, maybe go to 100? What does your gut say?
No, I mean, at this point, I'm not seeing anything unless they get destroyed on revenue expansion. I think it goes higher.
That's what I was going to say. I think
a lot depends on Q1 earnings. I'm sorry, Q4 and Q1 earnings.
And I think they're going to crush those earnings. I think they will. They're going to crush.
I'm not saying that they won't. I'm just saying that you need to see higher revenue guidance for the momentum to keep going at this rate.
But my thing is, I think you and I agree, the really big bears on Palantir that are really upset, they think it's going back to 35. I don't think that's happening.
I don't think that's happening.
That would be like Tesla going from 400 to 100 back in 2022. I don't think that's happening for Palantir.
I think it's a stretch for Palantir to get back to freaking 50 at this point.
Yeah, they would have to massively mess up on earnings, or we would have to have a bad macro. But outside of that,
yeah, I mean, Palantir's in a weird place because they are a software company, and they're doing great, and they're providing a great product, and they've mastered marketing, and they have a huge community around them. But now you're getting into the conversation. They're starting to chip away at the delta between their market cap and companies like Salesforce. If they keep going at this rate, they're going to chip away at their market cap versus Adobe and then Oracle. And at some point, and I always say this, at some point, numbers are going to matter. May not be today, may not be tomorrow, but at some point, Palantir's market cap is going to get to a place where the numbers are going to matter. And I don't know what that number becomes.
Okay, actual last question. If Bezos spent $600 million on his wedding, do you think that would be a good thing or a bad thing?
I mean, I don't really care. Here's why. It's his money to spend.
That was my reaction.
And wherever he does it, it's going to create a lot of jobs. The microeconomy around it is going to thrive. So I could care less what he does with his money. He earned it. He can spend it how he wants.
Yeah, I agree. People were freaking out yesterday. He denied he was spending that much money, but if he did, I'm like, well, it'll help the economy.
Even if the guy spent $50 million, that still means that a lot of local businesses and a lot of bigger businesses are going to make money. It's not like he's just spending that money. It's not going anywhere. It's supporting the economy.
Yeah.
Food vendors, gift vendors, the venue, florists. I mean, everybody benefits from him doing that. It's just like when people freaked out about him building his yacht. Think about how many businesses benefited from him building his yacht. You know how many places.
No, dude, we need rich people to spend their money. It's better than being stuck in their savings account.
I'd rather him not hoard his money. I'd rather him spend his money on stuff like that increases GDP.
This is the process of growing older, because when you're younger, you're like, oh my God, these rich people have so much money, they're buying yachts. When you get older, you figure out how the economy works. You're like, wait a second, that's creating demand for markets. If like, who's going to buy it? Well, Bezos. All right, so all these people are going to start building the yacht. They have jobs now, you know?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's a reason that I don't bring my own food to work, because I'd rather spend the money in the local economy.
Okay, that is bullshit. That is the reason. The reason you spend your money in the local economy is because you like eating good food and not some heated up food in the microwave.
No, but I'm just saying, like, I can cook. Like, I'm very good. But
that was the best excuse I've ever heard about someone eating out every day. That was the best excuse.
But seriously,
excuse.
I'm just saying, like, you know, at some point, you gotta look at things as, if people don't spend money in the economy's not going to work well. And you want small businesses to thrive.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's a fair point.
I mean, that's why I go to the same small business all the time to get my breakfast and lunch.
I tend to do that as well. If I see a franchise versus a local shop, like, I tend to try to at least go to the local shop more often than not.
This breakfast spot that I go to, it's a couple blocks from where we were when you came in, and they are only open until 3 p.m. Now think about that for a second. Think about how good the food has got to be for a breakfast spot in Midtown to only be open, or a diner spot to only be open until 3 o'clock. Think about how good the food's got to be.
Yeah. No, I agree, dude. And
it's incredible.
And same thing with tipping. Like, if I'm going to Starbucks, I'm not going to give a tip for getting a drink. But if I'm at a place where I sit down and there's some good breakfast, good dinner, I tend to, give more of a tip, because those people already get underpaid. So
I believe in over tipping.
I agree as well. 100%.
Like, if the service is shitty, you're still getting 20%.
Yes. Yeah.
And I believe in over tipping. But I have a very hard time if I go. So here's the way I look at it. The place that I go to all the time, I'll call it an order. I'll walk in and pick it up. And I do not tip when I pick it up. But if I go and I sit there, because I go there all the time, I'll probably leave whoever waits on me 35, 40%.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. I think, like, even at Denny's, dude, we actually had a kind of some crappy service. We went for my mom's breakfast, birthday breakfast. The service definitely was bad. Like, it objectively wasn't good. But, like, when I went to pay for the bill, I still gave a 20% tip, because I was like, look, at the end of the day, these people don't make a ton of money, and, it is what it is. Like, if you've been blessed enough to do well and make some money this year, then you gotta pass it around. So,
I see these people 3 times a week, sometimes 6 times a week. If I go there twice a day, sometimes I'm constantly talking to them. I'm fine over tipping with something like that. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Steve. We'll end it out here at Palantir 79.95. I know you love to know that we're getting close to 80. So,
I mean, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy.
It's not bad, dude. We might close above 80 for the second time in a row, maybe.
It's kind of crazy.
All right, Steve. Good stuff. I will talk to you.
What time is it? All right, I have to go because I have to get ready for a 12 o'clock meeting, and then I got meetings the rest of the day before I leave.
All right. Well, thank you for spending some time with us, and I hope you contribute to the local economy throughout the rest of the day.
I already went this morning.
Well, I'm sure you're going to be hungry.
Well, I had it brought to me, but I mean, so my breakfast was $9, and I gave the guy a $5 tip for delivering 2 blocks to me.
All right, so we know.
I think that's fine. I think that's fine.
I don't hate that. That is aggressive though. That's a 45%.
No, but think about it. It's fucking 20 degrees outside.
That's fair.
Okay, it's 20 degrees outside. I didn't want to walk there, so I mean, I'm happy to do that, especially around the holiday time.
Yes, around the holidays, I think it's I agree. All right, Steve. Thank you. We'll talk to you later.
All right, later.
Serving tips really well, Rick. That's hilarious, dude. That's that's where we got to go get some tips. I do tend to tip a little bit more, dude. Like over the weekend, I was with my dad at the dinner spot for my mom, and me and him were looking at the bill, and he was like, "Man, this is like, why are we paying so much for tip?" And I'm like, "Dad, it's the holidays. Palantir back above 80. We had some really good service at the dinner for my mom's breakfast, or the dinner for my mom's surprise birthday, and because we rented out the spot and we had dinner there, and I was just like, yeah, it's a little bit of aggressive of a tip, but during the holidays for servers, I think this is what you want to do. I don't stress out about that stuff. My dad, he's like, my dad has the immigrant mentality. He's like, no, we should be paying 20% less than this, and I'm just like, you kind of you do what you got to do, especially if you've had a good year. You got to pass it around a little bit. Now, Steve giving $5 to a $9 breakfast, that's a hell of a tip. But I agree, it's also freezing in New York. And anyone working in New York in the service industry right now, it's tough being out there in the cold. So I definitely think tipping from that perspective makes sense here. Snowstorm here in Toronto. It's snowing in Toronto. It's not snowing in Jersey yet. What's the weather? Let me check what's the weather right now in Jersey. Weather in Jersey, we had to be like 15 degrees, 21. We're at 21 degrees. Yeah, we haven't had this cold in a while, bro. Even last winter, it wasn't this cold. Like this cold we're feeling already feels worse than 2023. So we are getting a little bit more with the cold. And she was super happy with the dinner. She loves surprises. Yeah, dude, my mom, it was a good birthday. I took my mom out for the whole day, 80-15 on Palantir. We're back above 80. And she had no idea, bro. I had to distract her for 10 freaking hours to get her to this surprise dinner without her figuring out that it was a surprise dinner. We had her friends, our family. We had a bunch of people there. It was a really nice Italian spot. And throughout the whole day, she was just like, why are we going to dinner? Let's just eat food here. And I was like, no, I got this good spot. Let's just go there. And thankfully, I somehow found a way to not get her to be suspicious. And then we surprised her. So it was fun. She turned 55, double nickel on her age. And it was cool. It was a cool birthday. All right, folks, what else do we got? Did you take your bell? No, I did not take my bell. That would have been funny, though, if I brought my bell and rang it during the surprise. Why is SoFi and Hood still struggling? Well, the whole market right here, I wouldn't say it's struggling, but it's definitely, Palantir is not struggling. I mean, we're back above 80. SoFi right here, yeah, SoFi's not struggling, dude. It's up 1.6%. SoFi's good. Even Hood, nice recovery. 37.53, down only 2%, even though Bitcoin's down. Where's Bitcoin? Are we back above 94? We are not. We are 93.3. Let's end it off on a Hood upgrade from Piper Sandler. They actually went on Yahoo Finance and explained why they are bullish on Hood. I think they have a $52 price target, 54, something like that. So let's listen to them. And then we'll keep going from there. In terms of the Palantir Anduril OpenAI thing, Anton, we talked about this morning. So if you go to the beginning of the stream, we talked about that in depth. I also talked about that last night for like 40 minutes. I'll have a video coming out on that later today. But that partnership is really important. Big deal. Should be really good for Palantir's government business. And that could be a move. That could be something that's like moving the stock currently right now. We're holding above 80, folks. We're holding above 80. We went back to 77, basically recovered. I know it's still early in the day, but if we hold above 80, and we have a second $80 day. We had the first one on Friday. If today's the second close over 80, that is super bullish. Joby right here up 1.67%. SoFi 1561. Snowflake down about 2.5%. Robin at 3750. And then SoFi right here 1561 up 1.69%. Square as well 8924. That's down about 0.5%. All right, here's the analyst on Hood and why they are bullish going to 2025.
I think it is. You look back at the last year, they've doubled their assets under custody. Trading volumes are up significantly. But I think that the most exciting piece of this growth story is ahead of us. they've done a lot over the last year to help retain customers, and they've been growing out the product offering. Late this year, they announced a web-based trading platform that opens them up to 50% of the retail market that gets done on a web platforms that they've never really had access to before. So they're increasing their total addressable market. They're rolling out things like futures, things like options. And I think next year is going to be even more exciting than this year when it comes to the growth you're going to see from this company.
Well, and it's so interesting to me, the willingness on the part of customers to take advantage of these other services, right? Are we talking about a cohort that is pretty much digitally native, and so they're basically willing to take advantage of whatever product Robinhood's going to throw at them?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say any product that Robinhood's going to throw at them, but they're definitely a younger demographic that's much more focused on mobile trading and open to things like crypto that maybe an older generation wouldn't be open to. 75% of their customer base is either millennials or younger. So when we talk about things like the crypto offering, for example, they have a customer base that's much more willing and able to adopt crypto products, things like staking. These are things over the next year we expect them to expand significantly. So I would say that they're, I think, relative to somebody like a Schwab or an Interactive Brokers, the customers are, as you say, probably much more open to trying new products if they're introduced on the platform.
After you have the kind of run Robinhood has enjoyed this year, obviously media question would be about valuation. How do you think about that?
Yeah, it's interesting right now. Our price target, $54. We have them at about 40 times forward earnings. If you look at brokers historically have traded around 20 times forward earnings. So I think that, double the multiple on a stock like Robinhood relative to the group in general, I think given the growth opportunity there is an appropriate multiple. Robinhood has 1 in 10 American adults have a Robinhood account, yet they only have 0.25% of the total retail assets in the United States. It's a very small market share, but they have a very strong brand, and we expect them to grow their assets under custody and grow earnings significantly in the coming years.
Usually when we talk about Robinhood, we also talk about Coinbase, right? And we talk about in terms of which investors might want to buy. And we got some interesting perspective from Bitwise Asset Management CIO Matt Hogan, who we recently talked to. He had a prediction that Coinbase would surpass Charles Schwab, and I'm going to play for you what he told us.
Yeah, right now it's about half the size of Charles Schwab, and we think it could reach that and more. Coinbase is this really unique opportunity because there was so much regulatory suppression over the past few years. Coinbase hasn't had major competitors bubbling up to challenge it. It's executing extremely well. It has a limited competitive environment, and it's in an industry that's growing 100% year over year. When you add those three things together, you'll see this vault up the spectrum. It'll
obviously, Patrick, he has a sort of crypto lens, if you will. I believe that you prefer Robinhood to Coinbase. Talk to us about why.
Yeah, I think Coinbase is in a good position to grow over the next several years. They've done a good job, as he said, with less regulation. I think personally that it's acted as kind of a moat for them. They've been one of the few companies out there that's been bold enough to kind of expand their crypto offering, as others have maybe shied away from it. But I expect over the next several years, you're going to see lots of traditional finance players getting into this, the crypto space. Robinhood right now is I think, going to be most aggressive with that. Their retail trading fees are only a third of what Coinbase charges. I think also, if you look out over the next 10 years, Coinbase is going to find its niche in the space. But I think when you think about a broker and you think about the things that retail traders want, they want to be able to trade equities, they want to be able to trade options, and they want to be able to trade crypto as well. So I think that well-rounded offering and the fact that they don't just have to win in crypto, they have these other avenues that are growing like gangbusters as well. I think that positions them very well. And that's why I would prefer Robinhood as the play over Coinbase to kind of ride this crypto wave.
I think he's right, dude. Robinhood has half the trading volumes of Coinbase with 10% of the assets, and they're only in America, a little bit in Europe. Coinbase is all over the world. So, I mean, people are choosing Robinhood for a reason right here. And that's why it is exciting. Did you see the outgoing Schwab CEO say he wished they were better positioned for crypto? Yeah, I did see that. One of the Schwab equity market analysts, the people that they hire to like go on CNBC and all that stuff and do media for them, they said they think Bitcoin's going to 150K. So you add some of the Schwab, like, I I guess, what do you call these people? Market analysts, like Robinhood has their own people. SoFi has Liz Young, that type of version for Schwab. They said they think Bitcoin's going up. And then you have Austin's comment right here where the Schwab CEO said he really wishes they had more, they had better innovated for being able to offer crypto services, crypto products. I mean, we're seeing that entire industry start to take place. You can't buy Bitcoin on Schwab right now, right? Like Schwab, you can only buy IBIT, but you can't buy Bitcoin, I imagine. And if that's the case, then I mean they're getting some IBIT flows, but they're not getting Bitcoin trading volumes, which are 10x the amount of ROI because the costs are so low compared to traditional equities. So yeah, Schwab, Fidelity, Vanguard, a lot of these guys are just not prepared for this right now. Amit, are you still buying into Hood? Yes. I mean, look, I'm really don't have any more money. I'm in the markets, but I bought at 42. So yeah, I'd be buying at 37. The thesis is pretty simple. This is going to be a generational company that inherits trillions of dollars of wealth, and their execution is unheard of. And don't take my word for it. Go to Robinhood's website, go to investor presentations, and go look at the 145-page slide deck they put out for their 10-year vision. And no one has to take my word for it. If you read that slide deck, it becomes pretty obvious that as long as they execute, they're going to be the winners here. And they've already shown this year that they can do it. So I think they will continue to gain momentum. Palantir is almost green, folks. $80.50. This is quite incredible price action from Palantir. I mean, it's just amazing. If we actually hold 80 2 days in a row, it's not to say that we're definitely going higher, but the fact that the bottom is, or the low is maybe 73, 74, if we can normalize this, we were talking about normalizing the 60s 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. Now then last week I was talking about normalizing the 70s. Now, if we have a conversation about normalizing the 80s, it's just unbelievable. It's just incredible. And really, I think it'll take the next 6 months to see if it's all a bubble and it's going to lose a bunch of air and it's going back to 30, which again, I don't think that's going to happen. Even though Steve's a little bearish, he doesn't think it's going to happen. Or this thing can at least hold the 65s, even if there is a little bit of a correction, and it can still be at those elevated levels. Because the one problem is if it starts falling and you get people that are afraid to buy the dip, right? That's the opposite of people getting excited to buy the dip when it falls, which I'm sure there'll be some part of the market that's like that. Then it could keep falling, right? Because then everyone's like, well, it was expensive to begin with, yada, yada. It's just a software company. And then all that FUD starts coming back. And then you have retail that really gets scared, right? Because a lot of people's net worths are up 4x, given Palantir's 4x this year. If that goes down 50% or 30%, you might start wanting to take some profits, especially if the macro turns. So there is a world where Palantir gets ugly next year. But there's also a world where tech continues to compound, earnings are good, we get rate cuts, Trump ends up initiating enough pro-growth, the government business starts compounding, Alex Karp's coming out with a whole book, he's going to be doing a ton of media next year. There's also a world where this thing is just getting started. And I think the next 5 to 6 months are going to kind of give us an understanding of how that plays out. Is NVIDIA going green? NVIDIA's going back to 140? Wow, NVIDIA, 138. Up 2.3% on NVIDIA. Up 2.3%. Are you getting Chris back to talk about PayPal? Chris is on vacation. That's why his service was bad. I know some of you guys were joking that his wife told him to get off the phone during vacation, but his service sucks. That's probably why he's not going to call back. But we'll talk to him in like a day or two. And we'll get him on the show about his PayPal thesis. Is Bitcoin below 93? NVIDIA 137. Where's Bitcoin? Are we below 93? No, we're back at 94. We just touched 92,813. So we touched the lows. This is just above the lows from last week. Last week, we touched 92,122 last week on JPOW presser conference day. We're at 94, but we just touched 92.8. So we did get close to those lows from last week, holding above it right now. Where's MSTR? MSTR is at 352. That's recovering a little bit. It was at 340. Now it's at 352. Tesla holding up nicely, 431. Palantir, $80.43. Robinhood, 37.64. And then PayPal is also not getting hit that bad. It's down about 0.5%, so nothing too crazy. And the Qs are green. S&P is green as well. So the market did flip green as we get into that 12 p.m. time frame. Amit, did you buy more Grab? I bought more Grab last week. I bought a ton of Grab last week. So I'll be finishing the position in 2025. But I like it. Now at this point, the thesis is pretty sound, and now we just got to wait till earnings. I don't think there's going to be any massive swing and grab until earnings. Like it's going to be dead money for a while if you're buying it. Like I don't think it's really moving. So I mean, I don't think there's a rush to get into this. I just want my position because I have my conviction and I want to just have that set aside and leave it. But yeah, this one's it's gonna be a slow mover, but I think it's a pretty solid company. And they're buying back their shares, which is also really nice. And $1.50 of each share is cash. So again, like it's obvious to me. I don't need any more conviction now. I just want to build a position and let it play out over the next 2 years. Any thoughts on Airbnb? Look, Airbnb, the problem with them, and Arnie likes them, but Arnie doesn't own them because like every time you think about the stock is just, it doesn't have the sentiment that's needed. It doesn't have a community. It doesn't have Wall Street that likes it. They do $4 billion in free cash flow, which is great. But then the market doesn't really think they're going to keep growing into this massive technology company when it comes to real estate. And the thing is, they've kind of already done it. I've said this since like 2021, but I felt like Airbnb made the venture capitalists very rich. It has not done well for public investors. The VCs made a lot of money off Airbnb. The public investors have not been able to get that same benefit because Airbnb just hasn't grown the same way they were when they were private. Now, granted, they went public after the pandemic, and that definitely, was a headwind for them. But still, I think Airbnb long-term will do well. I don't know if it's going to outperform a lot of names. Like Airbnb to me is not a screaming buy at 133, even though when you look at some of the financials, it feels like a screaming buy because I just don't think the sentiment is there. But granted, the sentiment not being there could be the reason why this is a good buy. But it's not on the DCA list in 2025. It's not the most exciting name out there. Grab is a $20 billion market cap, $14 billion in cash. $6 billion in cash. So effectively $14 billion enterprise value on Grab. Amit, is most of your position in shares or options for Hood? Most of it is in options, but I mean, I've been building up a decent amount of shares. So once I sell the options, it's going to be like 80% shares, 20% options. But yeah, the majority of it was options starting in December when I started buying. Like in December, I was not buying Robinhood shares. I was buying Robinhood options. And that was the best decision ever because the options gave way more leverage when it was at $8 versus when it was at versus buying the shares at $8, right? Now, because Robinhood has done so well, like the shares have also performed really nicely, but I didn't expect it to get to 40. I expected hopefully $20. That was my target. And at $8 to try to find 20 is not easy, right? Because it's far away. But then sentiment changes, the narrative shifts, and the options can get deep in the money if the company can execute, and Robinhood has. Palantir is 1 cent away from going green. Look at this freaking V shape, dude. 82 to 77, back to $80.50. Pretty cool, dude. Not bad at all. Would you be a buyer of Netflix? No, I'm not buying Netflix. I don't like Netflix. I like Netflix content. Palantir goes green. There you go. I don't like. I don't know, dude. If they split, maybe it'll be attractive to sell some covered calls on it, but I don't want to pay $400 billion for a streaming website. Like, I just don't. I don't think of Netflix as a tech company. I think of them as a media company. They've got to continue innovating on good media. I think they will. They're the best positioned out of everybody to do it. And they're growing. They're still growing like 5 million subscribers every quarter. So Netflix is a great business. I don't want to keep up with Netflix related news every single day. And whatever position you own, no matter what it is, especially if you're, in 5 to 10 names, you're going to really want to care about everything that has to do with that company. I just don't care about Netflix, bro. I barely watch it. I'm going to watch it when Squid Game comes out, but outside of that, it's just not that interesting. Also, I mean, dude, it's run. It was at $100 at the lows. It's up 9x from there. So, I mean, it was at 150, so it's up like 7x or whatever. So it's done very well. At this point, I think it's just you're buying into a lot of strength on Netflix. Will you ever exercise your options? Probably not, because again, they're spreads, they're not leaps, so they're already covered with a short side of the call on Hood. So I kind of can't exercise. I mean, I what I could do is I could just, sell the options and buy the stock, which is kind of similar to exercising, even though not really, which I probably will do. I mean, I'm still going to be buying more Hood, dude. If it stays in this 35 range, I'm going to be buying a lot more Hood next year and just be selling a ton of covered calls on it. I am a fan of sticking to companies that I know. And I understand, like, I'd be fine to be overweight Hood because I know how to navigate the position. I know how to navigate the company. I know how to create my stop losses in case I think a downturn's coming. Like, but this and Palantir are the only ones. And Palantir is hard to predict because Palantir doesn't give you any guidance outside of like, we think we're going to do $750 million of revenue, but Hood gives you the numbers every month. So you can easily figure out what the revenue, like it's not hard to figure it out. So, the market can predict it and you can kind of make decisions accordingly. So I'd rather be overweight and navigate that position than be in a brand new stock and not know anything about it. But I do think the portfolio is going to get up to like 10 positions next year. I think it's at 2 positions right now. Palantir will grab 3, Palantir grab Hood. I think we're getting to 10 positions next year. I definitely want to diversify a little bit more. And I want to sell covered calls on different names. So I'll be buying 100 shares of a bunch of different stocks. Palantir, $80.82. We are trying to get back to 81, folks. We are trying to get back to 81 on Palantir. Bond said I made 300% on Netflix and cashed out. Congratulations. That's incredible. A lot of people have made a lot of money on Netflix since it ran up. So, I mean, yeah, it's had a good run. It's had a great run. I just think now at 900, it's a bit up there. Is it better to exercise deep in the money options or sell them? It's based on if you want. Like, so Nancy Pelosi has deep in the money options, like $12 strikes on Nvidia. Obviously, she's really deep in the money. Nvidia is at like 140. But I don't know if she's going to exercise them or if she's going to sell them. I don't even know if they disclose that part. I think they do. But like, look, if she wants to be long Nvidia, she would exercise them, right? And just hold on to the stock. If she wants to take her profits, then so it's up to you, right? Do you want to be long the stock you bought options on, and keep the difference between the price and your strike price, or do you want to just take the money? Most people tend to not exercise. But if you have like if you have Palantir options at 15, which by the way, there are some people I know that loaded up $15 options in May of 2023 for January 2025. I don't even want to look. Let's take a look. How much are those options worth? If you bought a $15 call on Palantir in May of 2023, that's when it was $7. It was just about to go profitable. I mean, there's probably some of those people that might want to exercise those shares because at $15, if you think Palantir goes to 500, it's going to return potentially better than the call option is worth right now, right? That's the dumbest thing that I didn't do when Palantir was $7 or $8 because I didn't know about options, and I wish someone had told me about options. Because again, when things are asymmetric, that is the time to buy call options. And Palantir at $7, I already believed in the company. $15 in a year and a half, not that crazy. I mean, it's not. I mean, like if I was willing to do Robinhood $20 when it was $8 in 2 years, I would have done Palantir 15 in a year and a half. But I just didn't know what options were. I had zero clue what buying a call option was like. Okay, January 17th, 2025, $15 call. It is worth $6,595. Open interest, 16,000 of them are still open, which is wild. Yeah, it's up 990% in the past year. So if you bought a $15 call this is 2024. What's the max? Yeah, the max. If you bought it in May of 2023, that's the example I used. It was at its lowest. Let's assume not the lowest. Let's assume $4. It was $4 in May 26, 2023. It was $2.65 the week before. Let's assume $4. It's at 65. So that is a 16x return. A 16x return on Palantir options if you held on the whole time and you bought them when Palantir was $7. Wild. Absolutely wild. I mean, dude, even the $50 2027 leaps are in the money. TJ, a lot of people thought TJ was crazy buying the $65 calls for 2027. TJ's up. Palantir's at 80. And TJ was like, dude, I know I'm paying a shit ton of premium, but Palantir is Palantir at this point. And the call buyers are definitely out there for this name. The options chain now is at 120, guys. You can sell covered calls on Palantir for $120. Like they've added a ton of options to the chain. For Robinhood, they added 65. So it was at 60. Now they added 65. They need to add 70 and 80. And hopefully they will in the next coming months. Well, they added that for Palantir now as well. Where's Googs? Is Googs up? Googs is at 195. Google is up. Are the Max 7 moving? Yeah. Apple 255. Meta's up. Google's up. Amazon 226. Nvidia 138. Tesla 430. Microsoft's the only one that's down. But the rest of these guys not having a bad day. No stress that if I held all my hood leaps, they would be worth almost 1 million right now. I took profits way too early on my options. Yeah, you and me as well. I told you guys I sold my Roth IRA hood calls way too early. I would have had like 500,000 in my Roth, which sucks, but it is what it is. It is what it is. The only thing is, 2023, great time to buy options. I don't know if 2024 and 2025 is going to be a good time because everything's up so much. And you really need an aggressive move for the options to move as well. So we're going to have to see if we can compound again next year and if some of these options can become more valuable. The thing is, though, I do think there are some opportunities out there. Like Grab, I think buying a $10 leap on that for 2027 is not crazy, right? But like options on Google to 300 by next year, I don't know if that's going to print because it has to get above 300 to print, right? So you're making a really big move in a large cap. Whereas options at Google at 80, even if you picked $100, I mean, like you're doing really well. So we're just going to see kind of how that plays out in 2025. Does Hood show open interest? Yes, Hood shows open interest every time you click on an option. What are your thoughts on trading options instead of the underlying? Do you think options are slowly becoming a better way to invest overall? No, not at all. Not at all. The underlying is always the best way. It's just there are certain moments when options are super undervalued, and that's when they become better to trade. Like when Palantir or Robinhood is at $7 or $8, or when Rocket Lab was at $5, right? Otherwise, options are very risky when the underlying runs as much as they do. All right, guys, I think that's it. And again, for anyone who's new to options, I would not suggest buying them. Definitely not in this level. Just start a paper account. You can type in options paper trading on Google. You'll find tons of websites, even Robinhood, that allows you to trade options for free using fake money. And it at least gets you into understanding what's going on. Also, ChatGPT, great resource for options. You ask ChatGPT any question, she'll help you. I mean, or Grok, whatever model you use, they're all trained on the same data. They can all help. So if you are curious to learn, you don't have to jump into it yourself. You can get a lot of resources using AI to help you as well. Palantir, $80.34. I'll be back on the market close at 3:45. This was a long one today, but we only have a couple days left of the year, so we got to maximize the amount of time we have left. Word of the day, and then I am out. I'll be back at 3:45. Word of the day is Proximo.
Proximo.
In or during the next month. The committee will meet Proximo to finalize the budget. The restaurant is scheduled to unveil its new menu, Proximo. I've never heard of this word. I think it comes from the proximity, so that kind of makes sense. Like close. Next month is kind of close, so I guess that's is it Latin? It's usually, yep, Latin. Proximo mens, meaning in the next month. Dude, Latin is the coolest language ever. I took Latin in 7th and 8th grade. Some of you guys might have taken Latin as well. Although no one speaks the language, it is the foundational substrate for pretty much every single word in English. And almost every single word, either the prefix or the suffix, has a root inside of Latin language. It's pretty incredible. I still don't know how to talk Latin, and no one talks Latin, but in 7th and 8th grade, it was fun just learning about the whole dictionary being based on Latin. It is indeed a silly language, but it is super helpful, especially if you're in like a spelling bee or anything like that. All right, that's it. That's it for me. Let me not clap because I'll be on for the next 40 minutes. Dude, last night, we stopped talking about the economy at 1 hour and 20 minutes. And for the next 85 minutes, we talked about whatever the hell we talked about last night. If you go to the Sunday Future Show last night, we just talked and talked and talked. And yeah, let me not clap because that's going to create more clap. That's going to create more talking. So that's it. Palantir will be above $85. Proximo, hopefully we'll see that. Thank you everybody for being here. Yeah, that's it for me. I'll have the Palantir $80 UBS target update video probably later today around 7 p.m. So that video will be out. We'll go in depth around UBS's price target increase. Market close, we have no earnings. If I'm not wrong, do we have any earnings today? Nothing. No earnings this whole week. So pretty much just going to see how the markets are doing towards the end of the day, but nothing too crazy as earnings are officially done. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. That's the clap. I'm not going to look at any questions because then I'm going to start talking. I'll see. We got a super chat, dude. Like, I can't make this up. Arnaval Thul, thank you for the $10 super chat. Sorry if I said your name wrong. I'm a server and all the money I make from tips goes straight to Palantir, baby. I love that. Absolutely incredible. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the show. And congrats on being long Palantir this entire year. All right, everybody. See you guys. 3:45 on the market close. Bye, everyone.